full board meeting. I will call the meeting to order at this time. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Curtis.
Present.
Gear.
Present.
Genovese.
Present.
Gilbert. Graham.
Present.
Hightower.
Present.
Sharma.
Present.
Simmons.
Present.
Hedrick. He's not on yet. Do you want me to give him a call? I know he was.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, he should be coming on.
Okay, we're going to continue on then.
Momentarily.
Okay. Everyone else.
Yes.
We have a quorum. Mr. Tetrick will be joining us shortly. First of all, let me welcome our new trustee, Tanya Genovese, to her first board meeting. Since Chair Gilbert is not able to attend today's meeting, he will make committee appointments at the July board meeting. Mr. Crater, would you talk a little bit about why we continue to be in virtual meetings, please?
Yeah, certainly, as the governor has extended the disaster declaration for the state pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, we're able to have this meeting as we've had the last many virtually, and so allows members to participate remotely without having to all be physically present for the quorum.
Excellent. I would like to move to the presentation of the Lyndall Sturgis Memorial Public Service Award next. In 1979, the family of the late Lyndall Sturgis established an endowment to fund an award to recognize the contribution of an SIU Carbondale employee to his/her community, the area, state, or nation. Mr. Sturgis served as a member of the Illinois Teachers College Board from 1941 to 1949. He served on the first SIU Board of Trustees after SIU attained university status in 1949 and was elected chair in 1969, serving in that role until his retirement from the board in 1971. The award carries a $750 cash prize, a plaque, and the recipient's name to be engraved and added to the Lyndall Sturgis Award plaque displayed in Anthony Hall. The recipients of this award distinguished themselves through their dedication to serving others. The same is true of this year's recipient. We're recognizing Mr. Edward J. Joy Helene for public service. Joy Helene, a Heron native, is a senior lecturer in the radio, television, and digital media department at SIU Carbondale. Mr. Helene's volunteers activity includes more than 30 years on the Heron Festival, Italiana Committee of the Heron Chamber of Commerce, in which he currently serves as vice president. 15 years as a board member, currently serving as vice chair of Visit SI, which promotes tourism in Williamson County and Southern Illinois as a whole. And 9 years as a volunteer with the Williamson County Emergency Management Agency. Mr. Helene is also active in charity fundraising at the Heron Alps Lodge and served 3 years as officer there. Prior to volunteer activities included serving as former Egyptian Council Boy Scouts Council Board, the Jackson County Red Cross Board, volunteer firefighters in Heron and Emergency, and executive board chairman of the Cold Belt Fire Protection Association. Please join me in congratulating the recipient of the 2021 Lyndall W. Sturgis Memorial Public Service Award, Mr. Joey Bellini. We have him with us today. Would you like to make a few comments?
Just briefly, let me take this off. Thank you very much, Dr. Hightower, and thank you very much to the Board of Trustees for this honor. I'm very humbled by it. I was the very first recipient of this award. Dr. Bill O'Brien in 1979, I believe it was a friend of our family's. And so I was at that board meeting as a young reporter. And I remember distinctly, being happy and proud of Dr. O'Brien at the time for getting that award, and having no idea that all these years later, I'd be in the same situation. So it really means a lot to me to follow in the footsteps or follow on that list, a long list of people that have impressive people that have gotten this award. I know I spoke a little bit earlier today about Chairman Sturgis. Dr. Morris deservedly gets a lot of credit for building this great institution to where from a teacher's college to a great university, but he couldn't have done that without trustees like Chairman Sturgis and those others on the board. So it really means a lot to me to have an award named after him. I want to thank the family of Chairman Sturgis for continuing this forward. And my family has got Saluki blood all around, parents, brother and sister, uncles, whatever. We're all Salukis, and I'm really honored with this. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Mr. Bellini's accomplishments were celebrated at a small socially distanced breakfast at the Student Center this morning. So again, congratulations and well deserved. The next order of business is to hear from our President on Rural Health Initiative Update and Community Engagement.
Thank you, Dr. Hightower, but I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Luis Gupchep, who will give a detailed report on what we've done since the last meeting, as well as an update on what we see as our future plans going forward in those two areas. So, Dr. Gupchep.
Thank you, President Mahoney. So I'd like to update you today on two initiatives that the system has been working on to serve the region, bringing together the strengths in the area of rural health and bringing together the strengths of the system in creating an office of community engagement. I'll talk a little bit in detail about each of these. So the Institute for Rural Health, the SIU system, through the proposed work of the Institute for Rural Health, is committed to the understanding of social determinants of health and resulting barriers and vulnerabilities that impact rural communities. The Institute for Rural Health will be built on a foundation of anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and with the utilization of a cultural competency lens to guide efforts that improve community resiliency, health outcomes, and individual health and well-being. The report of the SIU System Committee for the Institute for Rural Health and the SIU Task Force on Rural Health were used in developing the following plan. The plan draft was developed by Jeff Franklin, and we'll talk a little bit more about the center that he directs. So building on the strengths and the tremendous success that the model, that the Center for Rural Health and Social Service Development has modeled, and Mr. Franklin is the director of that center, a phased approach to the development of the Institute for Rural Health has been proposed. In phase one, which is the first 6 months, we include establishing a central Institute for Rural Health in the system office, identifying an interim director, engaging the Center for Rural Health and Social Service Development to assist with the Institute for Rural Health development and coordination, essentially scaling up what Mr. Franklin's center is doing, because they're very successful, assessing the staffing needs, creating an office for the Institute for Rural Health on the Edwardsville campus to help develop urban and small urban institute components. And please note that the Carbondale Campus School of Medicine will continue to be served by the existing center till the Institute is in full flow. Engaging an internal facing leadership council with 1 or 2 representatives from each campus to function as an advisory council for the Institute for Rural Health, and convening an Institute for Rural Health leadership team to evaluate Institute formation and organizational structure. So that's what we plan in the first 6 months. In phase 2, 6 to 12 months, what we will plan to do is applying for temporary center status with the Illinois Board of Higher Education. The Institute for Rural Health leadership will work collaboratively to develop an external facing operational infrastructure, and a Rural Health Advisory Council made up of both SIU and community leaders will be convened to provide guidance on community collaborations and partnerships. And we'll also look to employ a grant writer in phase 2. In phase 3, which is 12 to 24 months, we'll engage liaisons within the Center for Rural Health and Social Service Development and the Office of Community Engagement, which I'll talk about in a little bit, to assist with the coordination of cross-sector initiatives, identifying current community linkages and partnerships and collaborative initiatives while following CRHSSD protocols for engaging with communities and establishing trusted relationships. Facilitate dialogue and collaboration among diverse communities, policy, practices, and research interests focused on creating sustainable linkages among rural communities. Seeking external funding connecting identified community needs with SIU faculty research and expertise. And collect and manage quality data to create a resource service clearinghouse. And then finally, develop an Institute for Rural Health communication and media plan. And the 4th phase, which is 24 to 36 months, will include strengthening the infrastructure and partnerships, further securing enhanced funding, ensuring equitable health outcomes and permanent status for the Institute. Now, I want to mention that in all activities, joint resources will be considered with the Office of Community Engagement. The budget is currently being discussed. And the other point I want to mention is that educational and research opportunities will be key. The Institute personnel can offer courses in academic programs, create minors and specializations within existing programs, which might help in student recruitment and enrollment, create experiential opportunities for students in the area of rural health, opportunities for graduate assistantships, and opportunity to grow our own community health personnel to help the region. So that's the current report for the Institute for Rural Health. President Mahoney, would you like me to continue with the Office of Community Engagement?
Yeah, continue on, yeah.
Okay, so the Office of Community Engagement, as I presented in the February Board of Trustees meeting, an SIU system working group was convened in November 2020, and it has worked through March 2021 to bring the resources of all the SIU system together to better engage with, transform, and redevelop underrepresented communities in the SIU system area, with a particular focus on small urban communities and based on community need. The current recommendations of the working group, kindly summarized by Lori Williams of the School of Medicine, include appointing an interim director to guide the workings of a system-wide Office of Community Engagement. The function of the office will be to synergize the expertise of the system to optimize serving community needs. Appoint a community engagement liaison at each system campus that can help identify resources, for example, human resources, financial infrastructure needed for intercampus community revitalization teams. Now, I want to stress that the aim is to have a seamless structure where the campuses can work together and engage and revitalize communities. The next step will be to create system-wide teams around the 4-pillar agenda to rid Illinois of systemic racism, as proposed by the Illinois General Assembly. Doing so aligns with all system campus missions and community needs. The 4 pillars include criminal justice reform, violence reduction, and police accountability. Number 2, education and workforce development. Number 3, economic access, opportunity, and equity. And number 4, healthcare and human services. These pillars represent the needs of most communities in Illinois. Thus, the pillars provide an organizing framework for activities that reflect both state level priorities as well as community level needs. The chancellors on the campuses and the dean and provost of the School of Medicine will nominate members for the 4 pillars teams. The service area that is currently being considered is the 66 county area, but the focus will be discussed by the leadership of the office. We will create a system-wide community advisory council that will aid with community-based relationships and advise the director of the Office of Community Engagement. The Community Advisory Council will also serve as a conduit to connect experts outside the SIU system to community-based projects as needed. Local advisory councils will also be created in each community to oversee the development and implementation of the specific community project. The local advisory councils will be made up of leaders from the community engaged in planning, implementation, and evaluation of the projects. It is important to carefully consider the composition of the community and local advisory councils for appropriate representation. We'll create grants and contracts and program management and administrative infrastructure, and that will involve collaboration with all campuses. A media plan will be created for the office, and the overlap between the Office of Community Engagement and the Institute for Rural Health will be carefully considered to avoid duplication and achieve synergies. As we move forward, discussions are underway to develop more detailed plans and budgets and implement the recommendations of the 2 committees. So that is my report, President Mahoney.
Wonderful. President Mahoney, would you care to add, or are there questions from trustees?
Chair Hightower, I don't have any questions, but I want to applaud their work. I know that they're making progress, and it's a huge undertaking, but it has so many, as we know, so many positive attributes to it that can really help our system, and I'm really pleased to see that move forward.
Other comments? President Mahoney, would you care to add anything?
Yeah, I just reiterate what Trustee Tendrick said. They put a lot of work into this, and I've been with them for part of it, but they've done the bulk of the work under Dr. Gupchev's leadership, bringing people together from across the system, I think in a way that was really productive. This is something kind of new and unique and different than I've seen really any place else. And so developing something like that is a little bit more challenging at times, but I think they've come up, again, for higher education fairly quickly with some ideas and ways of going about it and a real timeline going forward. And I think we know right now what our next steps are to move this project forward. And I'm excited about what opportunities it provides, not just for SIU, but our 66 county region. And I think this is a way that as an institution, we can have a tremendous impact outside the doors of our institution. So thank you to Dr. Gupchev and really everybody who's been involved, Dean Cruz, others who've been involved with this whole process.
Well, President Mahoney, thank you for your leadership and certainly.
I'll make a small comment here. I think you may have contacted School of Social Work and Project 12 or Carbondale campus. They may be helpful for this project because they do similar kind of services in the community and rural health. So there are quite a few people there, but I'm not familiar with the Edwardsville campus, so who are people who can be contacted to tag on.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the social work programs that we have can really be involved with a lot of this. And
Great.
I think one of the early thoughts I had about this way back last March actually was something related to social work, got me thinking about what we might be able to do on something like this. And that was one of the programs I thought would need to be involved at some point.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sharma. Yes, we'll certainly include the social work programs. That's a great suggestion.
And there is another called Project 12 program. I'm not familiar with the details, but they got a lot of state grants and they go help people in the rural areas. I think Chancellor Lane can comment, or Mira, one of those. I'm out of touch with these people for some time.
Yeah, I can connect Vice President Gupchev with the relevant folks.
Other comments?
Thank you.
Well, let me just say on behalf of our chair and certainly myself, we have talked long and hard about establishing a system-wide footprint for Southern Illinois. And we certainly believe that this will be a game changer as far as the work that you're doing. So President Mahoney and certainly Dr. Kupchak, thank you for all of the outstanding leadership and work that you are putting in to this project. And we look forward to supporting your efforts. Next, we will close the meeting to go into executive session. I move to close the meeting to the public for the purpose of considering pending probable in court proceedings against R on behalf of the board, appointments, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and review of executive session minutes. The relevant sections of the Open Meetings Act statute that allows for the closed session are 5 ILCS 120-2C 1, 11, and 21. Do I have a second on the motion?
This is John, I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. Would you please call the roll?
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert is absent, Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
and Tedrick.
Yes.
Wonderful. Then the meeting is closed and we will reconvene right at 11 o'clock.
Or after, depending on the week.
Yes.
Your passcode has been confirmed. If you need technical assistance,
client presentation.
Oh, how'd that go?
Went really, really well.
Does it matter which one I take?
The full board is back in open session and will now recess and reconvene at the conclusion of the board's committee meetings. The first order of business is the Academic Matters Committee, which I will chair, and I'm calling the Academic Matters Committee just in session. Dr. Gupchuk, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I have a few announcements, Trustee Hightower. So as we near the end of the spring 2021 semester, I would once again like to recognize the resilience of our faculty, staff, and students as they persevered through difficult circumstances to achieve their academic goals. At the last Board of Trustees meeting, I had reported on the Illinois Board of Higher Education strategic planning process. That process continues with 9 design teams that worked on developing strategies in areas under the themes of affordability, attainment, and talent, and equity. A draft plan that includes 28 strategies is now in comment period. Work on the common application, developmental education, and open education resources continues at IBHE. The National Association of System Heads is also undergoing a visioning process called the Big Rethink. The 5 areas being considered nationally for systems are reframing student success, fundamentally reducing the cost base, restructuring the education model for quality and equity, and partnering with a purpose and leading the transformation process. I serve on the NASH design team that is reframing student success. I look forward to bringing the results of that design team to the system. We also need to look forward to President Biden's American Families Proposed Plan, as some of the proposals might have implications for our system. Our own system strategic plan is progressing well. I'd like to share my screen very quickly. So as previously reported, the System Strategic Planning Committee has developed the vision, mission, and 6 goal themes. These appear on your screen. The committees representing each goal theme, also called goal committees, have begun their work. And the members of the goal committees are shown on this next slide. The goal committees will develop objectives, strategies, and metrics, as well as identify responsible officers and individuals and estimate resources needed for each of the strategies. This slide shows you the work that the goal committees will perform. The goal committees are expected to submit their reports to the SIU System Strategic Planning Committee by June 15th. They have already started their work. I would like to inform the board about 3 system-wide committees: the faculty, the staff, and the student advisory committees that comprise the constituent stakeholder groups on all the campuses. The faculty advisory committee is working on programming related to wellness and teaching. A survey has been sent to all faculty across the system by the presidents of the faculty senates on the 2 campuses. The results of the survey will be used to plan programming in the fall for all system faculty that will help faculty in this COVID period. The staff advisory committee is also working on their own survey in developing professional development programming. It's been an honor to work with these system-wide committees as they work to help faculty and staff across the system. Today, we have 3 representatives of the System Student Advisory Committee: Diana McGrean from SIUC, Luis Rubio from the SIU School of Medicine, and Brett Burtock from SIUE, who will update you on their activities. They have done actually an excellent job in the last few months. Diana, Luis, and Brett, would you please go ahead and present what you're doing? I believe Diana will present first, correct?
Now we're going to have Luis go ahead and kick us off. Good morning, everybody. Apologies, my camera seems to be not cooperating with me this morning, so you can't see my face. But my name is Luis Rubio. I am a co-chair of the SIU System Student Advisory Board, which was formed in this past year with the guidance of President Mahoney and Vice President Garish. The SIU System Student Advisory Board serves kind of as a collaborative channel between students, between SIU Carbondale, SIU Edwardsville, the School of Dental Medicine, the School of Pharmacy, the School of Law, and the School of Medicine. We hope that this board will serve as an avenue to discuss issues that impact the SIU campuses and beyond, share some ideas, some projects, find solutions to some issues and possible concerns for students, and work together kind of to help any issues that students may face. Additionally, we hope this board coordinates possible joint endeavors that can help kind of the citizens of Central and Southern Illinois.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brett Bertok, and I will tell you a little bit more about who makes up the SSAB, what we have accomplished this past academic year, and some of our goals moving forward. 16 student representatives, which consist of undergraduate, graduate, and professional students from SIUE, SIUC, and the various SIU system schools make up the SIU Student Advisory Board. During this past academic year, these student representatives have had the wonderful opportunity to meet virtually with both President Mahoney and Vice President Gupchup to lay out the mission, purpose, and goals of the SSAB. 2 co-chairs were selected to coordinate the communication between student representatives throughout the spring of 2021 and the upcoming academic year. These individuals are Luis Rubio from the SIU School of Medicine and Diana McGrehan from SIU Carbondale. Myself, Luis, and Anish, another member of the SSAB, will be developing the group's operating papers this upcoming summer. These operating papers will help to guide members of this group for years to come. Some of our key goals are to determine how this group can strengthen the system-wide identity and communication among students by developing and promoting system-wide student programming and opportunities. To achieve this, we'll be creating several subcommittees that oversee these efforts, as well as the overall mission of our group.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diana McGrehan, co-chair of the SSAB and co-chair of the selection committee for the newly launched 2021 SIU System Distinguished Student Service Award. As my colleague Brett has mentioned, one of the goals of the SSAB is to strengthen our system-wide identity and present students with unique opportunities. The SSAB recognizes that we have the opportunity to honor students from across the SIU system for their outstanding commitment to service that has impacted their fellow students, their campus, and their community. So if you know an amazing student that has demonstrated distinguishable acts of service, I encourage you to keep a lookout for our nomination link and nominate these amazing students so that they can be recognized by the SIU Board of Trustees at the upcoming Board of Trustees meeting on July 15th. The deadline to nominate students is Sunday, May 23rd. And if you have questions about this award or the SIU System Student Advisory Board, please reach out to myself or Louise. On behalf of all the representatives for the SSAB, I want to thank you for your time.
So thank you, Luis, Brett, and Diana. As you can see, we have great students on all 3 campuses, and they're working together to do great things. The faculty and staff committees are also doing wonderful things. It's great to see all the campuses working together. And I know students have exams next week, so thank you for spending time here. And by the way, Luis has to go assist with surgeries. So thank you, Luis, for helping out here. That's my report, Trustee Hightower.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting held February 11th, 2021?
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Hightower,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
and Sharma.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Will you continue on, Dr. Gupchup?
Yes, so today you will be hearing from 4 of our students who are among 36 of the 2020-2021 REACH awardees, the Research Enriched Academic Challenge Program. This is housed in the Office of Vice Chancellor for Research at SIUC. This competitive and prestigious program is typically supported around 30 students a year, and the students work with faculty mentors. Students are very highly qualified and they work with a faculty mentor in the area of research or creative interests. They can receive awards up to $2,000 for their creative endeavors. In addition to their award activities, there's a poster presentation at the end of the year at the annual Student Creative Activities and Research Forum, where they share their work. Students who participate in the REACH program often have life and career-changing experiences. In the last several years, over 70% of the participants have decided to go on to graduate or professional school, with 15 to 20% of the participants enrolling in graduate school at SIUC. With the students today are their faculty mentors, Professor and Graduate Coordinator James Conder from the Department of Geology, Associate Professor Aaron Scott from the School of Art and Design, Associate Professor Vilsa Konyufsa from the Department of Microbiology, and Associate Professor Philip Jensik from the Department of Physiology. Thank you for being here and for mentoring the students and giving them the support to conduct their research and creative activities. Dr. Conder, would you please start with the student introductions, followed by Professor Scott, Konyufsa, and Jensik. Go ahead, Dr. Conder.
Thank you. We do have a list of PowerPoint slides. Here we go. So again, thanks everyone for inviting us. It's a real pleasure to be here to mentor students. Just a little bit about myself, Dr. James Conder. I'm a professor of geophysics. We use different methods to understand the Earth. So here's me actually out with some students putting a seismograph in Illinois. The little map at the top gives a Carbondale-centered world showing an earthquake to it. And so it's just an effort to use earthquakes to understand the planet. And so geophysics is all about using different physical methods to understand how the Earth works, how volcanoes happen, how earthquakes happen, and what the structure of the Earth is. My student, Francesca Burkett, has a REACH award that she's going to talk a little bit about. And it's just been a very fantastic experience to work with talented students like you see in this picture and with Francesca. I will let her introduce her work.
Hi, my name is Francesca, and I'm a junior from Carterville, Illinois, studying geology and history. Since I'm from Southern Illinois, I grew up attending SIU programs like the Southern Illinois Music Festival or workshops led by professors and students who volunteered to teach school children about the research. And I grew up hoping that someday I'd be able to attend SIU to study what I was interested in, just like these professors and students did. And I chose SIU because of its commitment to research and community in every field. I became involved with research because ever since I was little, I've wanted to investigate and understand why everything works the way it does. And research was the way to find answers to my questions. I'm currently researching magma production beneath subduction zones by using numerical models to evaluate parameters to determine how much magma is created. Could you go to the next slide for me? Thank you. Basically, the Earth's crust is separated into many different plates of various sizes, and these plates are called tectonic plates. Subduction zones are areas where two plates are colliding, which you can see in the far right-hand side, the far right figure on the top. And in these areas, the colder plate, which you can see on the left-hand side, is being pushed underneath the warmer plate on the right-hand side. The Cascades, which create Mount St. Helens that you can see in the left-hand picture of the volcano, is an example of one of these subducting regions. One of the interesting parts about subduction zones is that even though it's really cold material that's being shoved underneath the warmer material, that's still resulting in volcanic activity. And that seems really strange because it's hot material coming from cold material. But what's actually happening is as the colder plate is being shoved underneath the warmer plate, it's stirring up the mantle and it's allowing hot material to rise, which is creating volcanic arc. My research focused on determining what parameters affected the total amount of melting in these areas. And these parameters included looking at how the angle of where it's being pushed underneath the other one changes the amount of melt you'll get. Also the speed at which they're colliding, the age of the plate that's being pushed under, and also material composition. This entire experience has been amazing. I've had many of my questions answered throughout my research, but it's also raised more questions that I'd like to continue investigating. I'm thankful for this opportunity working with Dr. Condor and the REACH program. And up next presenting, we have Dr. Scott and Roshni.
There we go. I think I'm unmuted now. All right. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm a professor. I'm Aaron Scott, professor in the design department. I'm also the design area head. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about our research and our activities that we conduct in the design department. When we're talking the design area, we're actually talking about problem solving. So as you can see up here, we have a design research studio in which we have both industrial and communication design. And the mission of this is to actually leverage the creativity of students, faculty, and of individuals included with it, to where we actually develop through techniques, through resources, and experiences, products that address problems. So we solve user issues, we develop new products, new interfaces, new designs. So in some of the examples that I'm showing, we're looking at emerging technologies such as using virtual reality and sketching actually in virtual spaces, going inside the computer to actually design from the outside. But we also still utilize hand building tools, techniques, that prototype. So all focused on understanding the user and delivering valuable resources and solutions. So the goals that we have for our students and for ourselves is to prepare for future innovators, to be breakthrough thinkers and doers, to use design to inspire multidisciplinary teams and foster collaboration between students, faculty, industry, and tackle some of these big problems, like the wicked problems that the world's facing right now. So we know when we come together, we're better and we can problem solve. And so kind of on this topic, I'm going to pass the torch over to Roshni and allow her to introduce herself and the project that her and her team have been working on. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Roshni Chowdhury and I am a senior in communication design with a focus in user experience design. I am a native of Carbondale, Illinois, and I decided to study in SIU because I really enjoyed the personal attention that you get from teachers, but also the abundant opportunities that you get here. Speaking of opportunities, the REACH grant was something that I was fortunate to take part in. And our project was in designing and developing an augmented reality application to assist pre-Alzheimer's patients. And I did the user experience design and project management of the project. But I wasn't the only one who worked on this project. There was also Trenton Spencer. He is a junior in computer science and he did the face recognition development. Then there's Renee Davis, and she is a sophomore in computer science and she does the object detection development. And then there's Professor Aaron Scott, which you just heard from, and he's a professor and mentor. Next, I learned a lot throughout this project. We learned how to code for augmented reality and for helping those who have pre-Alzheimer's. We also learned how to design for people with memory problems. And also we learned lots of multidisciplinary collaboration, and also how to do project management and project organization. So I want to thank all of you for really allowing these opportunities. I'm really thankful for that. So yeah, thank you.
Good morning. I guess it's my turn. My name is Violsa. I'm a faculty with the microbiology program within the School of Biological Sciences. I was lucky last year to have 4 REACH students. I'm going to mention each one of them by name. Morgan Burmeister, Matthew Blalock, Kathy Sharvath, and Catalina Kuzanga. So these 4 students did a fantastic job. They worked on 2 separate projects. One project was developing vaccines against chlamydia, which I hope that will become published authors. And another project was a team of 2 students working on looking at aspects of chlamydia pathogenesis and the role of immune cells in this process. My focus as far as research interests go is to develop vaccines against infectious diseases, especially vaccines against mucosal pathogens, such as pathogens of the reproductive tract, and to study chlamydia and salmonella pathogenesis. And most definitely the best part of my job is being able to work with students and provide them cutting edge training so they may go on to have fantastic careers in the future. So it's extremely fulfilling. And now my student Sharvath will tell you a little bit about himself and his work that he did. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sharvath Katti, and I would like to begin by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about myself with you today. I'm from Schaumburg, Illinois, which is located in the suburbs of Chicago, but I was born in Hyderabad, India, which is where I studied till 6th grade before moving to the United States. Currently, I'm a sophomore here at SIU, majoring in microbiology with a minor in chemistry. One of the biggest driving forces for my decision to attend SIU is undergraduate research. Thanks to Dr. Violsa, I was given the opportunity to begin participating in a research lab since the first week of my freshman year. The main reason for my involvement in research is to gain valuable skills, which can be used in my career after graduation. Looking into the future, I do plan on attending graduate school or either medical school, and I strongly believe that being exposed to a research lab during my undergraduate years will provide me with the background knowledge needed to excel in a graduate program. Moving on to the next slide. As a sophomore, thanks to SIU, I was given the opportunity to carry out a research project under the REACH program to study the role of immune cells in chlamydia pathogenesis. More specifically, the project involves understanding the role of CD8 T cells and monocytes in the transmission of chlamydia within the body. Working on this project gave me the opportunity to master tissue staining techniques as well as examining the tissue sections using immunofluorescence microscopy. Furthermore, using the Velocity software to create and analyze 3D immunofluorescence photographs for identifying the immune cells present in an infected organ such as spleen was also a major aspect of this project. With that being said, I want to once again thank SIU and everyone here for giving me this opportunity to share about my experience. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Jensek and Elena from the Physiology Department.
Hello. So my name is Phil Jensek, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Physiology. I've been at SIU for almost 24 years as a researcher, graduate student, and then now a faculty member. And I like this place so much, I convinced my eldest child to attend here. And so my laboratory research is a gene called DEF1. We have several publications that show that mutations in this gene result in a number of disorders, including intellectual disabilities, autism, and seizures. And we are trying to understand how these mutations result in these disorders. And recently, SIU sponsored the first ever DEF1 DAN meeting that brought together parents, researchers, and clinicians, and it was just a wonderful experience. And of course, student mentoring and involvement has been an important part of this research. Training the next generation of scientists is a main part of our job. And so students like Alana Campbell and other students in the lab have contributed to our understanding of this disorder. And probably my favorite part of mentoring is when students come to my office and ask if the lab has explored an area of research that they maybe have read about in an article, or in the case of Alana, they have observed something different in the experiment and they want to try and understand why it is happening. And I think that's the moment when you know the student has really progressed into the researcher mode. And so now I want to turn it over to Alana.
I'm muted, sorry. Hi, my name is Alana Campbell. I am a senior studying physiology here in Dr. Phil Jensek's lab. I'm actually a first-generation college student from Central Illinois, and I loved it so much here, I convinced my cousin and my younger sister to attend. But when I started here at SIU, I had the intent to attend medical school, and I chose SIU because as a first-generation student, college was really overwhelming, but I felt really, really supported and knew that I would reach all my goals here. So I was looking into research. I was really intrigued by Dr. Jensik's work because of the clinical aspect to it. 2% of the world's population are diagnosed with intellectual disabilities, and several mutations responsible have been identified in the transcription DEF1, as he mentioned. These individuals have what we call DEF1-associated neurodevelopmental disorders, and what we see in these individuals is a mutation in their DNA that subsequently is leading to a mutation in their DEF1 protein. And all of our proteins serve a lot of functions throughout our life, but DEF1 specifically actually plays a role in feeding back to the level of the DNA and regulating the expression of various other genes and proteins extremely important in cognitive and neuronal development. So our goal is to understand how mutations in DEF1 are changing its function and possibly leading to the pathogenesis of DEF1-associated neurodevelopmental disorders such as intellectual and disability and autism. So over here on the left, I've actually included a figure from my REACH project of something that I worked on. This is my data. This was just, this is called a Western blot. This is co-immunoprecipitation and Western blot analysis. And what I did is I actually was able to use this technique to analyze protein interactions between DEF1 and PARP1, which is also important in learning and memory, and to show how these DEF1 mutations that have been identified in patients with DAND are affecting this protein interaction, which I think is just really, really cool. So through this experience, I've really had a lot of practice applying my undergraduate studies, which has served as a really memorable and educational experience. I've gained a lot of really close relationships with faculty who have served as mentors and have actually led me to consider other careers such as research. And that is all I have. Thank you all for taking the time to hear our presentation.
So all I have to say is wow.
Questions or comments from trustees?
Well, it is very impressive to see our undergraduate getting involved in the research, and it needs to be advertised more heavily outside the Carbondale area. I'm impressed to see these presentations today.
Other comments? Well, Dr. Gupchuk, thank you and others for preparing this outstanding overview of the work that is occurring at both SIU, and SIUC. This is just phenomenal. So again, thank you very much. We continue on now with information report, Dr. Gupchuk.
Thank you, Dr. Hightower. In keeping with university guidelines, the reports from the centers and institutes at the Southern Illinois University's 3 campuses for fiscal year 2020 have been provided to the Board of Trustees in a composite report. It is the 6th annual report on centers and institutes that have been approved by the Illinois Board of Higher Education and are established by Illinois state statute. The report shows that our centers and institutes contribute tremendously to teaching, research, and service, and help in the economic and community development of our region and beyond. Today, we have 3 excellent presentations from key centers on each of our campuses. We will have presentations in the following order. First, from Dr. Sharon Locke, Director of the SIUE Center for STEM Research, Education, and Outreach, followed by Dr. Erin Haskup, Director of the Dale and Deborah Smith Center for Alzheimer's Research and Treatment, and then finally, Dr. J.D. Tanner, Director of the SIUC Touch of Nature Environmental Center. Dr. Locke, would you please present first, followed by Dr. Haskup, and then Dr. Tanner.
Yes, would you like me to share my screen?
Sure.
All right. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about the SIUE Center for STEM Research, Education, and Outreach. So I'm Director Locke, and I joined SIUE as the founding director 10 years ago. And it's been an absolute pleasure all these years to build our STEM center. I want to let you know that the STEM Center is actually part of a network of university-based STEM education centers. There are over 130. And this is a formalized network that convenes annually to discuss ways that STEM centers can serve as a catalyst to transform STEM education at their institutions. And SIU has a leadership role in this network. I serve as a member of the steering committee for the network and advise on its directions. I do want to say that research centers and institutes are uniquely positioned within a university because they are places where research, teaching, and service can be strongly integrated. Students have the opportunity to be part of a professional community and learn skills such as project management and how to effectively work in teams. And at the STEM Center, the graduate students are really an integral part of our project success. I just want to highlight a few examples. Our research advances understanding of teaching and learning in STEM and also contributes to scientific research in partnership with academic departments. As an example, currently we have 2 grants totaling $2.3 million from the National Science Foundation and the National Institutes of Health. And these grants have the overarching goal of increasing environmental health and science literacy in local communities. This is a map which is available online that shows data from air quality sensors in real time. And our graduate students have deployed this online air quality sensors. And then we are working with youth in Madison, Illinois, and with a community advisory board to collect regional air, noise, and soil data and identify problems and hopefully propose solutions. So these projects are an example of the intersection of place-based learning, community participation, and environmental justice. We're very fortunate to leverage initial funding that came from the Manny Jackson Center for the Humanities. And I want to thank Trustee Dr. Ed Hightower for the early support for these projects that have since expanded in scope and impact. Also funded by the National Science Foundation, we're leading a program that provides opportunities for undergraduates who identify as underrepresented in STEM to participate in research and field excursions and to learn technical skills such as drone pilot certification. And this program is open to any undergraduate major, and it's addressing a problem of a lack of awareness of geoscience careers and also low diversity in the geoscience workforce. We have infrastructure on campus to support campus instruction and learning in the communities surrounding us. We have a resource center that's both a physical space and an online lending library that serves faculty members, student organizations, undergraduates preparing to be teachers, and the community at large. And in a typical year, our loans serve approximately 35,000 learners in the area. And we also strive to make this a welcoming space for any STEM student on the SIU campus to come and study or collaborate. Going way back to my early days, another infrastructure project is we led the design of a STEM classroom at the East St. Louis Charter High School. This was a partnership with Herman Miller Furniture, and we were a partner in designing the space. And this project received both an architectural design award and a research award for our study of the participatory design of STEM learning spaces. We also have many regional partnerships for outreach and teacher professional development, particularly for under-resourced schools and communities. And our funders over the years have included Monsanto, Boeing, and the U.S. Transportation Command at Scott Air Force Base. And these are some photos from participation of our pre-kindergarten through 12th grade participants. On the right, our youngest learners are learning robotics. Finally, I just want to mention that we have many partners who are hosting internships for SIUE students. And in one example shown here are 2 students from environmental sciences who worked for Granite City to inventory their community energy use and associated greenhouse gas emissions. And this work supported the city's sustainability plan. So in our center, trying to categorize one of our particular activities as research or public service or instruction is almost impossible, because much of what we do supports SIUE student learning and their development as professionals, while also contributing to broader STEM education and literacy goals, and also connecting STEM and STEM education expertise at the university with community needs. So I'll conclude by saying thank you for listening, and please consider this an open invitation to come visit us on the Edwardsville campus and learn more about our programs. And I'll stop sharing.
Dr. Haskup, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity to update you on and reintroduce you to the Dale and Deborah Smith Center for Alzheimer's Research and Treatment. Our Alzheimer's Center was founded in 1986 as one of the original state designated Alzheimer's disease assistance centers here in Illinois, the other two being in the Chicago area. So we're actually in our 35th year of existence, which is pretty exciting here. We were formerly the Center for Alzheimer's Disease and Related Disorders, but due to a generous gift that occurred late 2020, we were able to update and rename the center to the Dale and Deborah Smith Center for Alzheimer's Research and Treatment. Now, I've been at SIU since 2012, but I just came on as the director of our Alzheimer's Center about 16 months ago. The mission of our center is to integrate patient care, education, and research to better understand the biological aspects of aging, cognition, and neurodegenerative disorders, allowing us to design innovative, personalized care that addresses both the underlying symptoms and the disease, leading to improved patient, family, and community outcomes. Now at our center, we have essentially what I call 3 pillars of clinical health, analytical neuroscience, and community engagement that come together to offer this really integrated care. Now, our clinical health is what is basically patient-facing. So this would be treating patients. This would be our clinical trials, which we have, I think, 5 ongoing clinical trials right now. Our analytical neuroscience pillar is the more basic and bench science and translational science that we are doing here, the research areas. Our community engagement encompasses a few different things. It encompasses education. So this can be both for educating the community, educating patients, as well as educating professionals. We also, under this pillar, offer several what we term beyond the medical center programs. Now, these programs are aimed primarily at patients and their caregivers and family members that offer some sort of help for these patients, because as I'm sure most of you know, Alzheimer's disease does not currently have a cure. And so we're trying to, or even an effective treatment. So these Beyond the Medical Center programs offer a way to support this community. Things like support groups. We also do programs that will help the caregiver learn how to take care of an Alzheimer's patient, because they may never have been experienced in that area before. And then it also offers opportunities to try to improve the mind or retain cognition or retain learning and memory in the form of programs like Minds in Motion or Stepping Up. Stepping Up allows you to try to keep mobility. So all of these programs are really aimed at the patients and their caregivers. All this is done. This is a snapshot of the people that are here this fiscal year that are really contributing to the mission and making this not only a great place to work that you want to come into every day, but also providing a great service for our community and furthering research to try to find a cure, or at least an effective treatment for Alzheimer's disease. They've also all greatly contributed to the recent advancements that I'm going to share with you today. So a few things of note. As I mentioned, we received a generous donation from Dale and Deborah Smith. So we've been working to increase philanthropy, not just through them, but also they really thought of this as kind of a seed grant that would hopefully spur others in the community to try to support local. We're also a nationally competitive and internationally recognized research institution. We have federally funded research in excess of 7.2 million currently, and this is through the National Institute of Health, as well as we also have grant fundings through other avenues, such as the Daughters Here in Town. So we also are working to enhance collaboration and interaction across the SIU system. Recently, we had cross appointment of Dr. Justin McDaniel, who's located at SIUC, and we've actually put in some grant applications that seem promising as far as their score and their funding. And he is actually receiving the Scholar of the Year award later, I believe later this afternoon at SIUC. So congratulations to him. We're also exploring additional options to collaborate with SIUs and SIUE to make this more of a SIU-centric center. We've also been able to successfully pivot. And what I mean by that is, as I mentioned, we have these Beyond the Medical Center programs, which during the pandemic, we've had to figure out how to still be able to serve our community without bringing in these people that are in the vulnerable population, right, for the COVID-19. And so what we've been able to do is move to a virtual format to maintain service, please. And as we're looking forward to what we can do on the other side is potentially do a combination of in-person as well as virtual, which we think will allow us to expand our footprint and what we can offer out into more areas of Illinois, including more rural areas that maybe don't have some of these services available. And of course, I also want to mention our excellent clinical care. I can't tell you how many times I'm out around town and people find out that I don't know, find out that I work at SIU and the Alzheimer's Center, and they just always have very positive things to say about the care that they received here in terms of the clinic as well as the Beyond the Medical Center programs. And so that's just something very nice to experience. I did want to share with you a couple of what I call big ideas or unmet needs of where we kind of want to take the center in the future. And this may be more of a long-term goal, as we need to increase philanthropy and areas of ways to support these programs. But this is based on essentially two observations. The first one, that rural populations are at greater risk for Alzheimer's disease, and then also African Americans are at a greater risk for Alzheimer's disease. And so these are two underserved populations that we, would like to be able to reach and better serve. So one way that we may be able to do that is we have a memory and aging network that's already established. It involves hospitals, clinics, health departments, and mental health and counseling services located throughout the state of Illinois. We pretty much serve or can reach almost every area of Illinois outside of Chicago and the counter counties. So when we're talking about wanting to serve a more rural community, if you look at this map on the left in blue, you can see what are considered more rural areas of Illinois. And you can see that we already have some form of established communication with several of these areas. So I think that this is really going to allow us to move into the future of figuring out what are the different needs in rural versus more urban areas, so geospatially, as well as in the different racial and ethnical communities. So in line with that, what I want to do here is really expand to include potentially a biospecimen bank, a longitudinal biospecimen bank, meaning that we would collect specimens over a period of time so we can see how disease progresses and how it might be different between the different geospatial locations and racial areas. And then combined with that, we would establish a mobile health unit, which would allow us to reach these communities better. We also have several other aspects going on. As I mentioned, we're trying to possibly expand the virtual Beyond the Medical Center programs to our memory and aging network so that we might be able to reach other communities and provide this service there. The idea here is just showing that one of the needs for this longitudinal biospecimen bank that's very diverse in terms of the population that we're collecting samples from is, up here, not everyone's the same. We're all different. But how the system is currently based in terms of finding a treatment, especially in the realm of Alzheimer's disease, is it's primarily taken from a single population. And that's used to determine how we treat individuals. And so that one pill that's determined, or treatment, or whatever it is, may just affect this single individual rather than the population as a whole, and especially individuals that may be at a greater risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. What we propose with this mobile health clinic, as well as the biospecimen bank, was that we'll be able to identify a greater diverse population and figure out what is going on there, assuming that there will be several different outcomes and several different aspects that you may want to treat. So it allows for more personalized medicine where hopefully we could help more people. And that is all I have to share with you today. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, everybody. My name is JD Tanner, and I am the director at SIU's Touch of Nature. I'm attempting to share my screen here. There we go. For those of you not familiar with Touch of Nature, the center is about 3,400 acres. Located about 10 miles south of Carbondale. We have about 100 buildings on site that range anywhere from rustic, non-air conditioned and non-heated cabins all the way up to an 18-room hotel. There are about 12 miles of hiking and biking trails on site. Our neighbors include Crab Orchard National Wildlife Refuge, Giant City State Park to the south. And some of our accolades are, not only are we was our founder, Dr. Freeberg, the co-founder of the Special Olympics, but we also have National Park Service designation as a National Environmental Education Landmark. So a couple of the things that we're very proud of here. And you can see on the screen now some of the listings of some of the things that we do, including outdoor education, recreation therapy, our veteran adventure program. We do summer camps in the summer, which is probably what we're most known for. Our community events, and then just general hospitality services, along with the research support that we provide to professors and students on campus. I'll highlight just 5 of those things on that list, just to kind of fill you all in on what we're doing these days. What we're most historically known for is Camp Little Giant. We'll be celebrating 70 years of that camp in 2022. SIU's own Dr. William Freeberg founded and started that camp many years ago. And the camp continues today. Obviously, in a non-COVID world, camp is a little bit bigger than it will be this summer. Usually we see 200 to 300 campers come through that camp. This summer we'll only do 2 weeks of day camps for youth as we continue to sort through COVID vaccinations and things like that. I already mentioned Dr. Freeberg, who founded that, was also a founder of the Special Olympics along with Justice Ann Burke. Other camps that we will be hosting this year that fall under the Camp Little Giant umbrella is a Camp Beta, which is a camp for children with diabetes, which is sponsored by Southern Illinois Healthcare. And then we also do a couple of deer hunts, bow hunts for people with disabilities that'll take place this fall. And we partner with Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the National Wild Turkey Federation for both of those hunts. Newer program, not nearly as many years under its belt as Camp Little Giant, is our Veteran Adventure program. Our Veteran Adventure program serves and gives back to our veterans, but also to active military as well as their family. And so we raise money all year long and look for donations so that we can provide adventure outings to veterans at no cost. And so currently what we do in programs include deer and pheasant hunts. We've done things like a fireworks-free 4th of July event for veterans, canoeing and kayaking, backpacking trips, and camps as well. Our newest partner that is coming in to work with this program is called TAPS, and it's the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. And so it's actually family members who are the surviving family members of a fallen veteran. We actually just had a trip that left this morning to go canoeing on the 11-Point River in Missouri. So 12 family members along with our staff will go spend 3 days taking in some outdoor therapy. Other partners for that program include the Marion VA as well as Team River Runner. Our community events have grown quite a bit in the last few years, and so I thought it was a good highlight, being that connection to the community that Touch of Nature provides to the university. I think is one of the things that I enjoy about working here. The Maple Syrup Festival that's highlighted here is one that has seen tremendous growth over the last few years. When I started working here, we had about 150 people maybe attend that in 2 days. And just before COVID, we had 1,400 people attend that 2-day festival. So we have a lot of great community interaction. We're able to highlight a lot of programs on campus. The SIU forestry students come out and put on a lumberjack show demonstration. Recreation students come out and lead activities with the community. And so it's just a great opportunity. Other community events to note include our Haunted Hollow program, which has a kind of a Halloween theme to it. We usually have about 450 people come out for a 3-hour event on that day. And then our Wander Down Music Festival will see hopefully its second year with us this fall. And the first year, just before COVID, we had about 700 or 800 people attend that music festival for a 2-day festival event. And it's a family-oriented festival that focuses on things like sustainability. So it's a great opportunity. The research support that we provide to the folks on the main campus includes anything supporting wildlife researchers, the professors and the students, you name it, armadillos, skunks, bobcats, coyote. We're supporting them in all of their efforts to be able to trap and to be able to tag and find out more about the animals and the wildlife here in Southern Illinois. One of the projects that we're really excited about is our forest management plan partnership with SIU Forestry. We've received $47,000 in grant funding to develop that plan. And so far it's really benefited the center because we've been able to move forward and apply for other grants and receive those grants to start doing some large scale invasive species removal on our 3,400 acres. And now it's even taken its next step with forestry department into what the forestry department is calling the experimental forest project. And so with leadership from the forestry department and several other centers like ourselves that oversee some property, that's going to grow into something bigger and hopefully do some more exciting stuff for the university. And then lastly is another one of our community connection pieces. On May the 1st, in just a couple of days, we'll be opening up our multi-use trail system here at Touch of Nature. We've received over almost $400,000 in grants, donations, and volunteer hours to open up a multi-use trail system for mountain biking, for hiking, and for running. If you're not familiar, in Southern Illinois, there are currently no designated mountain bike trails. So we'll be offering the first designated and purpose-built trails to the community and to the students in this area. And we expect that to see, once we hit our full growth potential of about 30 miles of trail, we expect to see anywhere between 75,000 to 125,000 riders come and visit this area every year, which is going to be an obvious economic impact to the community, as well as some pretty unique recruitment and retention opportunities for the university as well. Students that are looking at going to maybe the 5th best forestry department in the nation because they want to be able to access a bunch of trails somewhere. Couldn't come here before, but now they can come to the best forestry department in the United States because we're able to offer that quality of life enhancement for them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Questions or comments from trustees?
Well, it's very informative and very impressive presentation of all the 3 centers. I learned a lot. I have one small comment on the STEM Center at Edwardsville. I think they may be already doing it, but a visit of high school students will greatly appreciate it. They will appreciate the visit and help in the recruitment.
Yes, absolutely. And I also just wanted to comment that I wanted to make clear that we have a developing partnership across the system. And so Colin Hitt from the School of Medicine, Harvey Henson, who's interim STEM Center director at Carbondale, and myself have been meeting regularly to think about how we can leverage each other's work and come together to make some coordinated initiatives across the system, and that would include high school research academies, for example. So good point.
Great, thank you.
Dr. Hightower, if I may, I would just like to make a comment to the group. That was amazing. I was really blown away by everything that's going on in Carbondale. But more to the point, I want to direct a comment directly to Dr. Mahoney. This is exactly what we were talking about, I guess, when we interviewed with you about bringing the system together and working together. And I'm so happy to see all the different phases, from the medical school to the forestry to everything that's happening, that's coming together as a system. It's really great to see.
No question. Other comments from trustees? President Mahoney?
Yeah, and I'll just pick up on what Trustee Simmons said. It's nice to see in many of these centers where we've been able to really enhance the work that's being done by doing more collaboration. I do want to say I had actually the opportunity to visit the STEM Center just recently. And I will share with you what I shared with Sharon at the time was we tried to do a center like that in one of my previous institutions. And the whole time I was on the tour, I'm like, this is what we were trying to do. This is what we aspire to be. And as I listened to the 3 presentations today, that's what I thought about, I think repeatedly, was, we have centers that a lot of people would aspire to have. And so, congratulations to all of you for the work you're doing and the good collaboration across the system. I appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, I just want to reiterate on behalf of our chair that the synergy that we're seeing across the campus under Dr. Mahoney's leadership, Chancellor Pembroke and certainly Chancellor Lane, thank you for the leadership and thank you for the outstanding work across the system, bringing the type of work that will give us the type of footprint that will set us apart from some of the other university systems. So thank you so much. This completes the Academic Matters Committee, and we're going to move on to the Finance Committee. Mr. Tetrick.
he needs to turn on his microphone.
On mute.
You are on mute, Trustee Tedrick.
Shall we try that again? Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the minutes, February 11th. Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote. Excuse me, I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is approved. The second item is tuition rates and fee matters, SIUC. Chancellor Lane, will you speak to this item?
Yes, Trustee Tedrick, thank you. And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Mahoney, thank you for giving us this opportunity. Our campus is not requesting an increase in tuition rates or mandatory fees for its undergraduate or graduate students, other than for requests made by the School of Medicine for the MD and physician assistant students. This is the third year in a row for not increasing undergraduate tuition. Our mandatory fees have remained at the same level since fiscal year 16. Just so everyone knows, we're doing everything we can to maintain a focus on affordability and accessibility while continuing to provide the quality education and services and activities that will support our students going forward. In making these recommendations, we've consulted with the appropriate elected student government leaders and student constituency groups. Separately, there are a few matters for your consideration relative to the professional schools and a few academic program fees. So first, the School of Medicine is seeking a 2% tuition increase for the MD and physician assistant programs, and a $25 per semester increase to the mandatory student fee for MD student to support the marginalized student network. Second, the School of Law is seeking a change to its out-of-state tuition rate that will have a zero net dollar impact. The proposal is to eliminate the out-of-state tuition rate to allow the school to better market itself to all prospective students. Currently, just as a sidebar here, non-Illinois students receive a scholarship to provide them the in-state tuition rate, but it is really a challenge to effectively market this to prospective students searching online. So we'd like to address that. Finally, there are a number of proposed academic program course fee increases for your consideration. I'll have our provost, Dr. Kamaraju, make these recommendations. So Mira.
Thank you, Chancellor Lane. There are 3 academic related fees for courses in the nursing and dental hygiene programs and for students in the law school. First, the nursing program is seeking to implement the course fee plan that allows students to purchase required program materials through the university and their bursar account rather than have to pay the vendor directly. These materials are used in coursework and help prepare students for the required National Council licensure examination for registered nurses upon completion of their program. This request aligns with the long-term plan for nursing students to help them streamline these purchases and use financial aid more easily if needed. The university proposes dividing the total cost of the resources as fees over 3 nursing program courses starting in fall 2021 and thereafter. Second, the university proposes to increase a fee for a dental hygiene clinic course to create a revenue stream for capital equipment replacement, such as medical autoclaves and dental hygiene chairs used by our students and patients. Such fees are critical to maintaining state-of-the-art equipment for our students so that they are best prepared to enter the workforce upon graduation. Students in the program were consulted about the benefits of the fee increase. Finally, the university proposes to create an academic support fee for all students enrolled in the Juris Doctor program at the School of Law. This fee will provide students with educational services and materials as part of a comprehensive program that begins the summer prior to start of the law school, continues throughout the 3-year academic career of students, and culminates in a postgraduate bar examination preparatory program. This holistic approach is for bar exam prep is becoming increasingly popular among law schools and allows the school to provide curriculum reinforcement to engage our students and prepare and increase the bar passage rate. There is a direct and meaningful benefit to the students in this fee as it allows them to use financial aid resources to purchase such services and combines their purchasing power to realize a reduced rate and a longer period of support. The fee of $499 per semester is based on the actual cost per student as determined by the contract with the vendor that was secured through a competitive bidding process. The enactment of this fee is contingent upon the board approval of the accompanying request for purchase of this service later in this meeting. Notably, the SIU Law School Student Bar Association Executive Board passed a resolution in support of the fee. Thank you.
Thank you to Provost Kamaraju and Trustee Chedrick. With that, I respectfully submit this request for your consideration.
Thank you, Chancellor Lane. Is there any discussion?
Well, I have a question on this School of Law fees. How many students are in the program, juris, doctor programs?
So every year we have approximately on average about 80 to 90 students. The number varies per year.
And for how many semesters is this program?
This program would be across the entire 3 years. It'll be 6 semesters.
6. So basically they will be paying around $3,000.
Yeah, and this usually students tend to pay it at the end of the 3 years. They pay it on their own to prepare for the exam. So this is a way of like spreading it out across 3 years and also being able to use a financial aid for that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the law school, but is there any data that every student takes the bar exam in the law school, or do they go to some other jobs? That is one concern I have. We are enforcing everyone to pay this fee. Second concern is there are students who are state A grade students. Do they need this coaching, or they can pass the bar exam on their own?
We have Dean Camille Davidson on the call here, and she can answer the specific question about what percentage take the bar exam, and whether the straight A student also needs that support. She would be able to answer that. Camille?
Thank you so much, Provost Kamaraju. Good afternoon, everyone. To answer the 2 questions, the fee includes support from coming into school. So there is an orientation curriculum to get everyone up to speed with how to read and think like an attorney, how to organize thoughts, read a case, analyze. So it is a curriculum that goes throughout the law school program. So it does enhance everyone. In addition, it provides individual feedback to faculty members and students on how they are progressing in each class, so that the students can adjust and adapt accordingly. So real problems, so that a student can see I'm weak in property and here's where I need to adjust. A majority of the SIU School of Law students do take the bar exam. I believe it's less than 5% who do not. But even if you do not take the bar exam, this program benefits you with all of the skills that you need to succeed as an attorney. So from 0L through 3L and then post-matriculation.
All right, any other comments? If not, do I have here a motion to accept?
So moved.
So
Do I have a
second.
second?
So second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Cedric,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And committee item 2 has been approved. Committee item 3 proposes tuition rates and fee matters for SIUE. Chancellor Pembroke.
Thank you, Chair Tedrick. This item proposes tuition rates and fees for SIUE for the 21-22 fiscal year. It has 4 components to it. The first relates to tuition. SIUE is recommending no increase in tuition rates for newly entering students in fiscal 22, and that is indicated in Table 1. The second part of their proposal has to do with alternate tuition programs. We are not proposing any changes to the alternate tuition program rates as shown in Table 2. The third part has to do with general student fees. The general student fee rate will not be increased in fiscal year 2022 as indicated in Table 3. And finally, housing and meal plan rates. The fourth part of this, we are proposing no changes to university housing rental rates or meal plans in fiscal 22 as shown in Table 4. Thank you.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a one quick question. Chancellor Pembroke, I know in the fall there was a fee increase presented to student government, and our student government leaders were in favor of it for a variety of reasons. Could you explain why we are proposing a 0% increase?
So in our conversations in February, I think that the board in talking to us indicated that they were hoping that we could create a greater access and affordability by not recommending an increase. The major component of the conversations with the students and the thing that I talked to student government, student leadership about was the major concern that if we didn't have student fee increase, would that lead to the copay concept for health services and mental health services. So we went back and we calculated what that would cost to avoid having to pass that along to students. And so we feel that this 0% on the general student fee will keep rates low, but also we will find a different way so that you don't have to worry about the copays.
Thank you, Chancellor Pembroke. Any other discussion, any questions? Is there a motion for the Finance Committee to approve this item?
Motion is moved with one exception. In Table 4, there is an extra column, projected FY23 rates. So my intention, and I think the committee's intention is that column is not part of this motion. In Table 4, projected FY23 rates on housing, Cougar Village, that should not be part of this motion.
I think that makes sense because that would have to be voted on by the board at that next year anyway.
That's what my intention, right?
All right, we've got a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Curtis?
Second, but I want a question to the Chancellor. Was that your intent, Chancellor Pembroke, not to include that in this motion?
I didn't hear what Trustee Sharma said.
What I said is these projected rates, we don't vote in the board meeting. So FY23, we are not voting anything for FY23 right now. We are only voting for FY22.
Yes, that's just additional information. And obviously we would need to come back and revisit that.
Yeah, okay.
So I second.
All right, Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Edric,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
No.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the motion carries. Committee item 4 proposes approval of purchase natural gas supply and delivery for SIUC. Board item agenda M. Chancellor Lane.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Tedrick. This matter seeks approval to enter into a contract to purchase the supply and delivery of natural gas for the Southern Illinois University Carbondale campus. The university purchases natural gas to provide heating and cooling to campus facilities. This contract, secured through the Illinois Public Higher Education Cooperative, will provide a competitively priced supply and delivery of natural gas. So the recommended vendor is Interstate Municipal Gas, who will enter a 3-year agreement with the university. So I'd like to respectfully submit this request for your consideration.
Thank you, Chancellor Lane. Any questions or discussion?
Move approval.
So second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the motion is approved. Committee item 5 proposes approval of purchase, bar exam preparatory educational services, school law. And I will ask Dr. Kamaraju to, you spoke about it a little bit, but you want to present this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This matter seeks approval to enter into a 3-year agreement with Barbary Incorporated for bar exam preparatory educational services and materials to be used for our students in the Juris Doctor program in the School of Law. Barbary is a noted leader in the nation regarding legal education and supporting students as they prepare for the bar exam. This contract provides law school students with a holistic bar exam preparatory program starting the summer prior to the first semester of law school, continuing during the academic career, and following graduation during the period when law school students normally prepare for the bar exam. Analysis of the data from the American Bar Association shows a direct relationship between students who use Barbary services and increased bar passage rates. The initial contract is for 3 years with the potential of a 1-year renewal for a total estimated cost of $1,097,400. Funding for the services will be provided through a proposed student fee also being requested at this board meeting. I respectfully submit this matter for your consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Kamaraju. Any discussion? Do I have a second?
Yes. Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And this item is approved.
Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
if I could just ask a good question. I apologize for not being up on this because I'm not on your committee, but I just did some quick math on that price tag at 1.1. And that boils down to about $13,000 per student, maybe a little over. And I'm curious, when I took it, I just paid $4,000 to Barbary. And to Sharma's point from earlier, I wanted to take it, so I paid it. So I'd just be curious as to what the value is we're getting with this.
That was 50 years ago.
Well, you're right about that. Hang on, I'm gonna get my new
Teasing.
picture up. Okay, now let me make that comment again. I'm gonna get that picture up there. How about that? No, you're right. You're right.
Good looking picture.
Thank you, Trustee Simmons, for clarifying.
Dr. Kamaraju?
Yeah, I'll request our dean who is, has that information more handy. Camille?
Sure. Thank you so much. Trustee Simmons, I think your question was what is the value to everyone? Right. When Barbary first came into being in 1967, so our generation, it was purely the post-matriculation program, and most of us paid it out of pocket at the end of the year. So the benefit for the students is twofold. One, many of our students do not have the out-of-pocket money at the end of their law school career. So they end up either not having a vendor, piecing together piecemeal from somebody's books from last year. So Barbary is overwhelmingly the vendor of choice for those who have chosen. It serves more than all of the other vendors combined. Do not add up to the number of people who choose Barbary, and it is still the industry leader. So the first thing it does is for the students who don't have the money on the back end, spread it through their law school career so that they're able to use financial aid to pay for it as well. And so they're not on the back end struggling to pay for the service. The second benefit is that it's more than what it was when we were in law school. It is that plus everything else. So that plus the 2-week pre-orientation program where students, before they even step foot on campus, are going through a 2-week curriculum so that they are now already delving into issues and skills that they need to be successful. We know that this is the only professional degree where there are not any prerequisites. So we have music majors and English majors and computer science majors. So to get everybody starting at the same place, the curriculum has the 0L program. It has a remedial program for students who were falling to the bottom after first year. A program that pulls out, here's what you need to work on with the curriculum attached to that. Okay. And it also has the 3rd year course for all 50 jurisdictions. So wherever you're taking the bar exam, it does provide the curriculum for any jurisdiction, as well as the ability to retake it if you're not successful the first time. And then along the way, we get metrics. The university does require us to do assessments of how students are progressing each year. And so this actually will give us the metrics as well as help the individual students as well as the faculty see not just the global metric, but all the way down to the individual student of where they're succeeding and where they need to put more attention. So
okay, great. Thank you. I just didn't want students paying twice what it costs, you know.
No. It's dollar for dollar the same.
No, Ed nailed it right off the bat.
Mr. Tedrick, may I interject if you allow me? We also have with us today another attorney, Tanya Genovese, who will officially be appointed to one of our committees at our next meeting. May I ask Attorney Genovese if she has any comments on this? She'd like to make comments.
I just remember after law school taking out a $10,000 loan to take my Barbary class. So I think this is actually great because that's what in order to take my bar, and I was out in California, so a little bit more expensive, but so I think it's a great program.
Thanks, Tanya. And I think we all know that it wasn't 50 years ago for John, it was 40. Okay, all right, let's move on. We're going to take items 6 and 7 together. They propose approval of purchase of 340B pharmaceutical program and academic office building lease, School of Medicine, SIU Carbondale. And Dean Cruz, you've been quiet during this meeting. It'll be good to hear from you.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much. So the first one is one that comes up every year. It's for our federally qualified health centers, which are now 14 clinical sites. It's the 340B federal drug program for 2 vendors, McKesson and Cardinal. And the request is for $2,940,000 for this program. The relevant piece is the 3rd paragraph in item O. This program provides patients the ability to purchase outpatient medications, medical supplies at significantly reduced costs. The drug manufacturers are required to pass the savings on to the program participants, and the total cost of the purchase will be funded by non-appropriated funds. Not only that, the revenue that the program gets back from this easily covers the outlay of cost plus any overhead and indirect costs that are felt by the FQHC. So there's no real cost to it. That's pretty much it.
All right. Do you want to talk about the committee item 7?
Sure. That one is for the lease for the building of our new family medicine residency program in Alton, which I'm proud to announce that on match day, they matched a full class, 6 residents for their inaugural class. This lease is a 5-year term beginning June 1st, 2021 for $678,000, which would mean that it didn't need to come to the board, but there's an option for an additional 5 years for the same amount, or actually at fair market rate, which takes it above the 1 million. So the purchase will be funded by School of Medicine non-appropriated funds, and it's a very reasonable lease rate for a good new program.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion on either one of these items?
No.
Let's take them one at a time. Then committee item 6, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote by Madam Secretary.
Edric,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the item is approved. Committee item 7, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Edric,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the item is approved.
Thank you.
All right. Committee item 8 proposes approval of purchase Route 3 Land Trust property lease. Vice Chancellor Taylor, will you present this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Tedrick. And good morning to all the, well, just about afternoon now to all the board members. This matter seeks approval to award a 10-year property lease to Route 3 Land Trust for property located at 150 Edgar Street in Cahokia, Illinois, where the Cahokia Head Start Center is currently located. The total cost for this lease is $1,387,584.13. Head Start programs are federally funded, and SIU must continuously reapply and be approved for operational funds. For this reason, it is impractical for SIU to request a purchase option for this 100% occupied facility. The decision to seek approval to remain in this location has been determined to be in the university's best interest and based on the information represented here. SIU has been in this location for 10 years. The facility was built out by SIU specifically to host the SIU Managed Head Start program for at-risk preschool children in Cahokia. One of 8 SIU managed centers in St. Clair County, this facility is 12,000 square feet with 8 classrooms, 2 administrative offices, a break room, and a multi-purpose space. All classrooms are equipped with emergency exit, and the facility has appropriate ADA restrooms for this occupancy. The facility is DCFS certified and coordinates services with the Cahokia Unit School District 187. The lessor is responsible for all taxes and all facility maintenance without applying future year differentials or escalators to these responsibilities. Tenant responsibilities are expressly identified for the cost of operating expenses related to utilities, fire alarm, trash removal, snow removal, and janitorial. The current rates identified in the local market and the cost of relocation, the new build out for this purpose are estimated to be at least double the cost of the current lease proposal for a turnkey operation. The total cost for this 10-year lease, again, is $1,387,584.13. This averages to about $115,000 per year if you look at it on a yearly basis. The State Chief Procurement Officer, Higher Education, and Procurement Policy have both approved and proposed a lease for Route 3 Land Trust, Landmark, Cahokia Head Start Center. That price might seem to be a bit much, but I think just to add a little bit of context, previously this program was located in a vacant school building, which had been identified as having a number of safety issues, and specifically issues with asbestos, lead paint, and other elements. It was non-accessible, it had ADA compliance issues, and to bring that old building up to code would be about $1 million or more. So here at SIUE, we got together, came up with a plan. We also were able to contract with a developer, looked at a number of locations, and found this Cahokia to be a perfect place. So finally, the developer suggested the facility, and previous to that particular point, there were 2 fraternal organizations in the building. The building was relatively new, and the developer agreed to gut it and to tailor it to the needs of our children in that particular region in Cahokia. And importantly, it also met all the requirements for not being in a location too close to the homes of accused sex offenders and for being near anticipated clientele. So the new location and the upgrades were absolutely perfect. And I know sometimes one of the things I was thinking about before the presentation had to do with the cost. It is a grant-funded operation, so we have to depend on those grants, but there is a clause in most of the Head Start leases, and particularly in this lease, that should the federal government not fund it, we do have the opportunity to vacate the lease. So at this time, I respectfully submit this to the board for consideration for approval.
All right, thank you, Vice Chancellor. Is there any discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Oh, second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the item is approved. Committee item 9 proposes Board of Trustees emergency pay policy. Dr. Stuckey?
Thank you, Chair Tedrick. When the pandemic hit a year ago, our administrators across the system had to face decisions that were never faced before. And that is how to continue operations while allowing employees to work remotely. Now that it's been done successfully, it's been decided that we need a policy to provide guidance in the future if we face another emergency. That policy has been developed by the Office of General Counsel. It is attached to the board matter. We seek your approval to add an emergency pay policy into board policy.
Any discussion? Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
yes.
And the item is approved. Item 10 proposes safe salary and appointment of Vice Chancellor for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at SIUC. I understand this item was withdrawn from today's agenda. Is that correct, Dr. Mahoney?
That is correct, and I'll turn to Chancellor Lane just for a brief comment on where we are with that search.
Yes, that is correct. The search is still ongoing.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Approval of salary and appointment, Associate Athletic Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Chief Diversity Officer for Athletics and Special Assistant to the Chancellor. That's quite nomenclature, isn't it? SIUE. That's board agenda item U.
I think we missed number 11.
Do you want to back up one, or you want to go ahead and
Let's
handle
do that,
Chair
and we'll
Tedrick?
come back. Yeah, because they're both together. I want you to
Right.
discuss
Okay.
them both together.
All right, so let me start with the second one then. This matter seeks approval for the salary and appointment of, as you said, the Associate Athletic Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer for Athletics, as well as Special Assistant to the Chancellor for the Edwardsville campus. We are recommending Dr. Vanessa Brown be appointed to this position. She is an experienced internal candidate. She has served SIU in many ways. An assistant professor, associate professor, and full professor in social work. She has been chair of social work, assistant provost for faculty development and diversity, associate provost, executive director in East St. Louis, associate chancellor for institutional diversity and inclusion, chief diversity officer and ethics officer for SIUE. In addition, she is an accomplished author, an investigator. She has received grants, and she also has been active in attracting donors, for example, the STEM Technology Lab for SIUE. She is fully qualified to be able to handle the duties for this position, which include hiring and retention of underrepresented and historically underrepresented individuals in athletics, coordinating learning initiatives across the athletic department, attracting diversity speakers in conjunction with the Chancellor's Office to our campus, helping with the HEAT Award, and working with the SIUE Police Department. So at this point, I recommend this to the President and to the board.
All right, you want to speak to board agenda item T, which is approval of salary and appointment for her?
Yes, happy to. So this seeks approval for salary and appointment for the inaugural Vice Chancellor for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion for the SIUE campus. We did a national search for this position, which produced 46 applicants, 8 semifinalists, 3 finalists, 2 of which were internal candidates at SIUE. We are recommending Dr. Jessica Harris for this position. She also has been at SIUE, an experienced person, accomplished much, including assistant and associate professor of historical studies, director of the interdisciplinary Black Studies program, and assistant provost for academic equity. So we are recommending her for this position. And as part of that, we are proposing a reorganization, which is part of the proposal, which the board needs to approve. There are 4 areas that would report to Vice Chancellor Harris. It would be the Office of Institutional Diversity and Inclusion, Equal Opportunity Access Title IX, Student Opportunities for Academic Results, typically called SOAR, and the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion. So we recommend both this appointment and the reorganization to this position as part of item T.
All right, thank you, Chancellor. Does anybody have any questions or any discussion? No. Hearing none, let's take both of these items together. So do I have a motion to approve item T and item U?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the motion is approved, or the items are approved. The next item is committee item 13. It proposes salary and appointment for Vice President, Southern Illinois Youth System, which is board agenda item V. Dr. Mahoney.
Yeah, this is our inaugural position of Vice President for Anti-Racism, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Chief Diversity Officer. My recommendation is Dr. Sheila Caldwell. Dr. Caldwell has a vast amount of experience at other institutions, including Wheaton College, where she currently is, and the University of North Georgia. Both of those locations, she actually was in inaugural positions as well. So she has a lot of experience with building from scratch and doing the type of things we're looking for her to do here. Also connected really well with people from across the system. I think will be a great addition to our leadership team. So we're excited to recommend Dr. Caldwell for this position.
Question for you. When, since it's a new position, when will that, if we approve this, when will she start?
She's going to start in the middle of July.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
This item is approved. Item number 14 is authorization for the sale and issuance of certificates of participation, which is board agenda item W. Dr. Stuckey. Dr. Stuckey?
there he is.
As you know, SIU has 2 means to issue long-term debt to fund capital projects. For the most part, we issue.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. As you know, SIU has 2 means of issuing long-term debt. One is revenue bonds, which are used to fund capital projects for units that produce income, such as residence halls. The other form of debt is COPs, or certificates of participation, and these are used for projects that house units that produce no income, such as academic units. For the most part, our debt is revenue bonds. About 90% of our long-term debt is revenue bonds, and a much smaller part of it is COPs. COPs tend to be less rigidly structured than revenue bonds do. We don't have consistent call dates on them. We have earlier call dates on some, and on revenue bonds, this industry standard is that you have a call date of 10 years, which means you're going to pledge to keep paying those bonds for 10 years before you either pay them off or you refinance. In the last few months, we have identified the markets have changed, so we have both a COPS issue, a certificate of participation, and 3 revenue bonds who have passed their call dates. And in all 4 of those cases, we have identified that we're going to be able to save significant funds by calling those 4 issues and refinancing. The COPS
You're muted again.
No.
Yeah.
There you go.
The COPS was a issue of that was placed in 2014. It is eligible for refunding. It has we had proposed that we try a private placement as was offered, and JP Morgan was the sole bidder. The refunding will provide a present value savings of 1.2 million. The interest rate is locked in at about 2.6% over 7 years, and we can renegotiate that after that 7-year period for potentially refinancing it for another 6 years. We seek your approval.
All right, so you're not speaking of the revenue bonds yet. We're just talking about the COPS, right?
Yeah, well, you asked me to speak to that. I will speak to the revenue bonds if you wish me to right now.
No, let's wait a minute. Let's just go ahead and do we have anybody have any questions or discussion on item 14, the sale or certificates of participation?
Roger, just one question. I'm supportive, but the net present value savings of 1.2, is that net of fees?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
So second.
Madam Secretary?
Tedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
The item number 14 is approved. So let's move to item 15, which is a housing and auxiliary facilities system refunding revenue bonds. Dr. Stuckey.
3 bonds have been identified that could be refinanced. They will be refinanced through one combined bond. The potential bond issuers were approached because we get significantly better interest rates if we had insurance. One potential insurance provider responded, said they would listen, as Building America Mutual. 2 of my staff members, Tina Gallick and Dave Uffelman, worked with our financial advisor and made an excellent presentation to that firm, and they ultimately agreed to finance our bonds, which reduced our interest rates considerably. The 3 bonds that will be refinanced are issue of $9.1 million in 2008. Savings on that interest in present value terms will be $900,000. About $8.7 million will be issued to replace the 2009 bond issue that funded Saluki Way. The savings on that issue will be $1.2 million in present value dollars. In addition to the term of the bonds for that Saluki Way will be extended by another 10 years to reduce the annual debt service for athletics by nearly 1/2, from $3.1 million a year to $1.6 million a year. Dr. Hightower, you'll recall when you and Judge Gilbert had a series of meetings to review the budget of SIU athletics, we discussed the possibility of providing this reduced debt service. This will accomplish that.
Great news.
Chair Tedrick, you'll recall that when we initially funded Saluki Way, we discussed the term of the bonds, and we decided to go with a 20-year term rather than a 30-year term because the student fee that was approved to fund Saluki Way was sufficient to pay it off in 20 years. As enrollment has dropped at Carbondale, that turned around in 2016. That fee no longer fully supports that bond service. It will be sufficient for the remainder of this 20 years, we believe, to pay off that bond. The third bond that will be funded by this refinancing is a $17 million bond that was issued in 2012. There will be a savings of about 1.5 million in present dollars on this bond. We are also making a major update to the bond resolution for the housing and auxiliary system to reflect current financing practices. The resolution was written originally in 1984, one of the first in Illinois, is now significantly outdated. Also, several assets will be removed from the system. For example, the Southern Hill Apartments and Greek Row still appear as listed as part of the system. We will eliminate 6 units out of the system that are no longer viable. We seek your approval for these for this bond issue. Thank you.
Any discussion or any questions?
Just one again, Roger, if I could, from Vice Chancellor Stuckey. I saw in the balance sheet, there was one bond series. I thought it was Saluki Way, but I don't have it in front of me, where it was very backloaded. We were going to pay $6 million a year for payments. Is any of this refinancing take care of that?
I think you're referring to a bond issue that is, it was issued for SIU. I don't have that in front of me.
That's okay. So that's not included in this?
No.
That's fine.
Yeah, there's no annual debt service of that magnitude in here.
Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary,
Cedric,
please perform a roll call. Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
This item is approved. And the last item is temporary financial arrangements for fiscal year 2022, which is board agenda item Y. Dr. Stuckey.
This is a matter that we bring to you every year because we aren't able to put together a budget before the first of the year for your approval. So to continue our operation from the first of the fiscal year until we bring a budget forward, we ask that you approve this item.
Any discussion or questions? Do I have a motion for the Finance Committee to approve this? Item 16.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Cedric,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the motion is, or the item is approved. And if there's no further business, we are adjourned.
Moving to the Architecture and Design Committee, Mr. Simmons.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Architect and Design Committee is now in session. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting held July 9, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, can you perform a roll call?
Simmons,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
and Cedric.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Next is board agenda item Z. It's the approval of easement for Madison County Transit, Yellowhammer Trail and Bridge, SIUE. Vice Chancellor Taylor, can you speak to this item?
Mr. Taylor, turn on your speaker.
You. Sorry about that. This matter proposes the grant of a permanent easement for Madison County Transit to construct a bicycle and pedestrian trail and bridge connection on the Edwardsville campus. The MCT has secured a Rebuild Illinois grant to design and construct the trail and bridge connection. The SIUE portion of the project covers an 830-foot long, 100-foot wide permanent easement that crosses 3 SIUE parcels. Easement document, legal description, and map of the proposed easement are attached as Exhibit A. The project will be partially constructed on a former streetcar corridor known as Yellow Hammer, which operated in the region in the early part of the 20th century. The Madison County Transit intends to expand 135 miles of bikeways in the MCT trail system and create a connection to the SIUE campus by construction of the Yellow Hammer Trail and Bridge connection. This would extend the existing Delight Morris Bikeway from the northern terminus to the MCT Goshen Trail, expanding trail access to thousands in the university community, Edwardsville area residents, and the downtown Edwardsville Business District. This project also supports MCT's mission of reducing single occupancy vehicle use and improving air quality by creating a bike pedestrian option for students, faculty, staff, and others commuting to or visiting the SIUE campus. MCT will be responsible for the expense of designing and constructing this trail and bridge connection and will also be responsible for its long-term care and maintenance. The legal description and plat map were adopted by Madison County Transit and have been reviewed by university officials. Chancellor and Vice Chancellor Administration recommend this for approval, but please note the project, while it might cause a temporary disruption in the easement construction area, it shouldn't have any impact on campus activities. And I request the board take this under consideration for approval.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Taylor. Is there any discussion from the committee or the whole board? If not, I'll motion.
Move for adoption.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor, I'm going to let Misty call the roll because I can't do the voice call.
Simmons,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Motion passes. If there's no other business before the Architect and Design Committee, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. If it's okay with everyone, we're going to just keep moving forward. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
The meeting is now reconvened. Approval of minutes. The first item is the approval of the February 11th, 2021 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a motion second?
Second.
Misty?
Curtis,
Yes.
here,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert is not here, Graham,
Yes.
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
and Tedrick.
Yes.
Wonderful. Motion passes. Next item that we have, trustee reports. Are there any trustee reports? Mr. Tedrick, were there any meetings of the executive committee?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on to executive officer reports, starting with President Mahoney.
All right, I'll try to be fairly brief today. Just a few things I wanted to update everybody on. Obviously, we're in the legislative time of the year, and so we continue to work with our legislators on a number of different things. We did our presentation to both the House and Senate higher education appropriations committees. I think they went well, and we did well together as a group, so it was a coordinated effort. Still pushing, hopefully, for at least flat funding overall for the institutions. We also continue to push forward support for expansion of telehealth and maintaining some of the expansion that has existed during the pandemic. That again has been highly successful, and hope that that will continue going forward. We have several system-related bills going through, and again, thank you to our legislative delegation who's been very supportive. Several of them really have been helpful in trying to get those through. Right now, one of the things that's of a major discussion is legislation that would develop a funding formula commission, which would change the way that we fund higher education institutions in Illinois. Do expect at some point that there will be such a commission formed that will change again the funding formula going forward. But we've been involved with discussions on what that process will look like and who would be involved in that process. Related to that, the IBHE is completing their strategic planning process. They released a draft of that earlier this week, and that will obviously tie to somewhat to that funding formula. I do want to thank the IBHE for their support on vaccinations for our students. As I've said throughout this last year, it's amazing how things can change quickly. At one point, we didn't know whether we could get vaccines for our faculty and staff. That has no longer been an issue, and now we actually, with the IVHG's help, we're able to get vaccines for all of our students who wanted them, who hadn't got them through other means. And so thank you for their support in helping to make our campuses safer. As Dr. Gupchap talked about earlier, we continue to move forward with our SIU strategic plan. Thankful to him and his efforts in that area, and really everybody who's been involved. It's been a good process and a collaborative process. I think this is one of those where, as much as the plan was important, the plan needed to be developed through collaboration across the system. And so bringing everybody together, the process was very important. And so thank you to Dr. Gupchap for his leadership there. We continue to work on our efforts related to diversity, as we talked about just a while ago. Bringing on Dr. Caldwell as our first Vice President for Anti-Racism, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion was a key step. I have a lot on her plate very quickly of things we want to work on, including establishing metrics for how we can determine whether we're being successful. I also want to say earlier this week, we had a meeting of the leadership in the professional schools to focus on admission. In almost all of our professional schools, the diversity of the student body doesn't match what the diversity is within our population in the United States. With one exception, the medical school actually is fairly close on the percentage of Black and African American students as compared to the overall population. But generally, we're behind on that. And we're looking for ways we can work together to help improve the diversity numbers that we see in our professional school programs. We had a great discussion and developed a lot of ideas. So that kind of working process going forward with Dr. Caldwell's leadership, I'm very optimistic we can see some real changes over time in what we see in the diversity within our professional schools. I also want to, another thing that we're working on, and you saw earlier, the Student Advisory Committee presented, but we do now have a faculty, staff, and student advisory committee for the system. I believe that's the first time that's ever happened. Already, all three groups are doing a lot of work. The student group, I think, did a great job presenting everything that they've taken on immediately. Much like we talked about earlier with rural health and the Office for Community Engagement, we're developing things that I haven't really seen anyplace else. So we're developing something new and different, but I've been very impressed by all three groups of what they have done really very quickly. And really what this provides me now, and we're working on some things relative to work modalities and others, when you come up with things, I now have three groups I can go to for feedback that represent the leadership among the faculty, staff, and students, makes that process much more efficient and gives me a connection to all three of those groups on a more regular basis. So again, thank you to Dr. Gupchap for his leadership in bringing those groups together, but really thank you to all the people who are involved with those. They've already become a valuable resource for me. And I don't want to take anything away from what the chancellors will talk about in a bit. But obviously, one of the biggest things we focus on this time of year is enrollment. We'll say overall, what we're seeing right now is very positive, and just want to thank the efforts of the people, the chancellors, the people who are focused on enrollment management and recruiting on each of the campuses for the work they've done. As they will talk about in a bit, the numbers we're seeing right now are very positive, and as I know, the national numbers are generally not going in that direction. So when you see any kind of an increase, the running joke in enrollment, flat is the new up. Just maintaining it is good. We're doing better than flat, and that's something we should really compliment everybody who's involved in that. So again, I want to thank them for their efforts. So that is my report.
Good deal. We just
Dr. Hightower, let the record show that the chair is now in the meeting.
Well, we want a reason for why you're just joining us now. So, do you have a permission slip?
Well, Misty was going to write me a doctor's excuse, so but I'm here and sorry that I couldn't be at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm here now.
Well, welcome, Mr. Chair. We always are happy when you're with us, so thank you for joining us. Moving on, Chancellor Lane.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, good to see you. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to present again. There you go, Matt. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, well, as Dr. Mahoney just mentioned, as it relates to enrollment, we're feeling pretty good. I would like to add that it is definitely a team effort that is taking place on campus. All of our faculty, our staff, and also our students are helping recruit, and they're helping make sure that we bring in our new Saluki class for fall of 2021. Pleased to report the applications and the admits for freshmen and graduate students are up considerably from a year ago at this time. Registrations for new student orientation for freshmen and transfer students also increased significantly. So far, you may be interested in this, more than 360 admitted students have accepted the funding from the Saluki commitment and the Saluki transfer commitment. So we're really excited about that. We've been spreading the word, making sure that students and their parents know about the opportunities that exist to get them here. We're aiming for a freshman class of about 1,400. We're about 1,300 or so in the fall. We want to increase that. And we also want the overall enrollment to inch up towards about 12,000 students. We finished the fall with about 11,366. So working really hard to try and reach those stretch goals in enrollment. Moving on to commencement, May 7th through the 9th, we made that decision to have our commencement out in Saluki Stadium. In-person commencement, we'll follow all of the safety protocols and make sure that we're not doing anything there to put anyone at risk. And so I know that we're hoping the rain holds off. Right now, it looks like it may be okay, but it's sure enough, now that I mentioned that, we'll probably have something happen with the rain there. So we are excited and honored that we're going to have about 2,000 students who will be earning their degrees in May. That's a very big number. We also invited about 3,000 students from the 2020 graduates who could not have in-person ceremonies last year, invited them back. And so as you can imagine, they're excited about that. Their parents are excited, their loved ones. So we're going to have a really good time over a number of days there. We have our website that's up. We welcome anyone to attend and serve on the platform party. And so we're getting really excited about that. Honorary degree and distinguished service recipients. We have Pamela J. Wilson, Honorary Doctor of Community Health degree. Jacqueline Spinner, Honorary Doctor of Media Arts. Dr. Ezike will be here for Honorary Doctor of Community Health degree. Harry Crisp, Honorary Doctor of Public Service degree. Pam Pfeffer, we're with Pam this morning, actually, at the event this morning. Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degree, Harold Bardo, Distinguished Service Award, and the late Dr. Seymour Bryson, Distinguished Service Award, Carolyn, the now Distinguished Service Award, and so we're really excited about that. Next slide. All right, based on the information we have now, we're on track for an in-person fall semester for fall classes to be much more in-person than they were this past spring or fall. And so we have a team, a reopening committee team that's working really hard to make sure that, again, we comply with everything we need to comply with. But if things continue to stay the way they are now, we're pretty optimistic or cautiously optimistic about making sure that we can have a more normal semester in return, but there's a lot of work that's still going into that. We're still following, as I mentioned, the health and safety protocols in our Saluki safety plan. Those plans are consistent with CDC guidelines and the Restore Illinois plan, so we'll continue to do our part there. Jackson County Health Department is coordinating the vaccine distribution, and I will tell you they have been a tremendous partner with us, as well as SIH with Rex over there and Woody. They've done a tremendous job in working with us. Our Student Health Center has done a great job. So hats off to everyone all the way around for the work that they have been doing. Since March 29, vaccines have been available in Jackson County and to any Illinois resident age 16 or older. And so we have the vaccination station set up at the Banterra Center. That's been a really good place to have our community be able to come in and get those things done. Next slide. We recently recognized our 2021 Excellence Award winners. And so we have all of our winners displayed in various different outlets to celebrate and highlight who they are. It's a pretty long list, so I'll just point you, for sake of time, point you to our sites that we have to actually see and read a little bit about each one of them. But they do an amazing job. We did celebrate them when I gave the State of the University address on Monday, and we made sure that we gave them really good congratulations piece. You just heard about the amazing work of our students through the REACH program. So again, highlighting and recognizing all the work that they do. Just want to congratulate them here publicly. Next slide. If you've been following ESPN and a number of other outlets, you've been hearing a lot about the Salukis. The football team had an amazing win against Weber State last weekend. This weekend, we've got a game on Sunday night, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. So you won't have to stream this one. It's going to actually be on ESPN2. Looking forward to seeing Coach Hill and our guys out there. They've done an amazing job representing the university very well, and we're getting a lot of publicity there that really in turn hopefully helps push those applications up a little bit more for admissions. And so we'll always take that. So we're excited. Our softball team has also been impressive. They've got an impressive record, more than 30 wins this season. Coach Blaylock broke Itchy Jones' all-time record with a 739th career win on Sunday. So just so everyone knows here that she is the all-time winningest coach in Saluki history. That's a huge accomplishment for our coach. So Coach Blaylock, congratulations. She does an amazing job there. Wanted to highlight her, and all our coaches are doing a great job there, but she has got the most wins. So that's great stuff. During my listening learning tours, I met with about 90 plus groups representing hundreds of faculty, staff, students, alums, and community members. As I mentioned, I gave the State of the University address on Monday and discussed what I learned and provided a preview of our top 5 pillars. So we're finally able to identify those top 5 pillars of student success and engagement, diversity, equity, and inclusion, research and innovation, sustainability, and branding and partnerships. And so I mention this all the time. Those are not the chancellor's top priorities. Those are not it's not the chancellor's strategic plan. We wanted to create a shared vision here at SIU Carbondale. And so all of the qualitative information that I received from our faculty, staff, students, alums, and community members is a result of where those pillars come from. You heard Dr. Mahoney talk a little bit about this earlier with the strategic plan of the system and those 5 pillars that I gave you. I think Garish, they're going to fit nicely there. And Dr. Mahoney right into where we're going as a system, so we stay connected and support all the work that's happening. So on that note, I would like to thank Dr. Odom. He's going to be our outgoing faculty senate president. Dr. Odom has helped me tremendously get acclimated to SIU Carbondale. And I also want to thank Stephen, our trustee, Stephen Gear. I give him a hard time, but he and I have spent a lot of time over there at Starbucks talking about how we can make our institution better. So on that note, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Dean Cruz.
Thank you so much. I'm going to talk about one topic today, our Office of Correctional Medicine. It relates directly to our strategic plan for partnerships. I'll read from the strategic plan. Partnerships are essential to the function, growth, and mission of SIU Medicine. We envision that strong partnerships will define the successful health systems and educational institutions of the future. SIU Medicine will develop multilateral alliances with government, public, private, industrial, healthcare, and academic institutions. And the Office of Correctional Medicine does all 3 of these things. Started when Dr. Kari Wolf, our chair of psychiatry, did telemedicine with the Department of Corrections. She engaged our Associate Provost for External Relations, Lori Williams. We had discussions with Director John Baldwin in the Rauner administration, and that work carried over to Director Rob Jeffries in the Pritzker administration. We got funding for a planning project in September 2018, and we had the good fortune to hire Don DeFreitas as the project manager. That was a very successful project, and it led to a 3-year intergovernmental agreement between the School of Medicine and Department of Corrections in December 2019. We established our Office of Correctional Medicine, and Dawn DeFreitas was selected as the first executive director. She quickly hired Steve Meeks, Dr. Steve Meeks as the Chief Medical Officer, another physician who directs women's health services at Logan Correctional Center for Women in Lincoln, and a total staff of 6 now. The type of work that's been done with the Department of Corrections includes continued telepsychiatry and things like mortality reviews, policy reviews, staffing analysis, clinical protocol development, reentry policy, student electives, dietary reviews, assistance with programs for incarcerated women. The big one was this year during COVID-19 when Dawn led the development of a dedicated 24/7 nurse helpline for wardens in the correctional institutions. This was also in collaboration with our Department of Internal Medicine, and the nurses and the physicians from that department did over 9,000 consultations so far, which is well received. Now collaborations within the system. Recently, our Office of Correctional Medicine and the SIU Carbondale College of Engineering working together on industrial engineering in prisons and management programming. This is really exciting. Also, SIU Edwardsville, we worked with Valerie Griffin in the School of Nursing with the Doctor of Nursing Practice program. We now have 3 DNP students who are working in the Office of Correctional Medicine to do their dissertations, working on things like smoking and cancer in the correctional setting. University of Illinois, Peoria, they have used our consultation services. We've always had a goal to have cross-campus programs. The state had planned earlier for University of Illinois, Chicago and SIU School of Medicine to cover everything related to correctional medicine in the state, and we'll see how that goes with time. Now, here's a really big one. We'll go outside the educational institutions to business and industry. So working with a minority-owned company, Azimuth Sleep Solutions, to improve respiratory equipment and non-invasive ventilation masks in correctional facilities, masks like CPAP and BiPAP. That company developed a filtration device to prevent two-way particle penetration for these devices. And it's very important for safety of personnel in the age of COVID and pandemics. Really cool little device. So the device is called a PortaPatch, and it has emergency use authorization from the FDA. It's going to be manufactured in a new facility in East St. Louis. And so our Office of Correctional Medicine has purchased 10,000 of these devices to distribute to our correctional facilities across the state of Illinois for a pilot study. It probably will be good in other healthcare settings too, but we're excited that we could do that. And we appreciate the support and the encouragement that we get for that from the board. Also, work with community agencies and our partnering hospitals. We're going to work real hard on several programs for re-entry into public life after incarceration. So we know that this just fits perfectly with House Bill 3653, the criminal justice plank from the Black Caucus that was passed in January. And we'll have a special emphasis on behavioral and mental health and well-being to decrease recidivism, and actually even more than that, to develop a productive citizens for society. Future goal, education. We would really like to develop a residency or fellowship training and certification in correctional medicine for physicians and other health professions. And we want to do a lot more collaborations with SIU Carbondale, SIU Edwardsville for course development for health and human services and criminal justice in undergraduate and graduate studies. So last word, more success. We were just notified that prematurely, the Department of Corrections wants to extend the work for 3 years through June of 2025. So we're working on that contract that gives us a lot of ability to be creative and build new programs. So once again, congratulations to Dawn DeFreitas, our executive director, who's made this blossom and helped it go. That's my report.
Thank you. Chancellor Pembroke.
Dr. Pembroke, can you turn on your speaker?
Sorry, let me try again. As usual, thank you, Trustee Hightower. As usual, I'm organizing my presentation around the 6 themes in our strategic plan and highlighting 3 things this time the fall 2021 enrollment and modalities, diversity activities on our campus, and campus safety. Goal 1, as you know, Michael, if you'll advance, has to do with enrollment. As President Mahoney and as Chancellor Lane mentioned, good things happening in enrollment at SIU system. As you can see, our students that are returning, we have started that enrollment process. Summer registration is up about 8.5%. Summer is largely online classes, has been even pre-COVID, about 80 to 90% of our courses online. As we compare fall 20 to 21, you'll see that we have some increase from returning students for fall. But the good news is our new student pool, we have the second largest total ever regarding applications, and our admissions are up 16%. Next slide, Michael. What's more important, I think, is that Springboard, which is our orientation for fall, is up 25% compared to previous year. And that's really, we feel good about that. We have a good indication that those students are going to come to SIUE. The students that have registered for Springboard, we are up. It is the most diverse class that we have had. Increases in African American, Asian, and Hispanic student deposits. I also want to point out a couple of things on this slide. Housing is up 20% compared to last year. That's very important. And our international students who had so much to overcome a year ago, that's up 21%. If we had to guess today, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, we're projecting 13.2, slightly over 13.2, which would be about 350 additional students compared to the previous year. Next slide, Michael. Regarding the fall and our classwork, we are looking at a situation where we'll be significantly higher with our on-ground experiences in terms of face-to-face and hybrid experiences. We also have done a survey of about 1,200 students, and we've asked them, based on everything that you learned in COVID, what would you like in terms of on-ground experiences, online experiences, and we're trying to develop our curriculum so that it reflects the students' wishes in those areas. Provost Cobb has met with student government and has talked about those different kinds of experiences. We've also talked about the things that students want in terms of supporting them. So we're increasing our tutoring, our advising, our student success coaches, increased study spaces in hopes that students will be even more successful. I thought it'd be just interesting to you that we asked students in particular, would you want courses to be online, on ground? And we offered about 66 classes in both formats for fall 21. And where we have both of those opportunities, 47 of those 66, the online enrollment is ahead of the on-ground. 15, it's the opposite, on-ground is ahead of online, and about 4 are the same. The in-person classes, people want in-person in teacher ed, applied health, business, speech. Online, social science, writing courses, English courses are ahead. So we'll keep track of that and report back. Next slide, Michael. If you look at goal 2, that has to do with the quality of the academic experience. We have moved forward with our HLC quality initiative, which focuses on improving retention and graduation rates of Black students. The variables that we are looking at there are scholarships, unmet need, advising through experiences such as SOAR, being parts of cohorts in experiences like FAME and GAME, and housing, whether the students are on campus. I also wanted to thank the Department of Foreign Languages and Literature. As you can see on the right-hand side, they are helping us to translate all of our enrollment experiences into Spanish. So Descubre SIUE. I hope students will, in fact, discover SIUE through those materials. Next slide, please. I want to thank Garish, Vice President Gupchup. He and I went to India in 2017, and so we're seeing the first fruits of that with exchange programs with students from VSIT in Mumbai. I also want to commend our School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior in working with academic partnerships to deliver more programs online. Also want to say thank you to Chaya Gopalan. Dr. Gopalan, as you can see, was part of a virtual workshop in terms of how to improve teaching techniques during the pandemic. Next slide, please. The class of 2021, as I wrap up goal 2 and quality experiences, I want to say 2 wonderful things about the School of Pharmacy. The first is that the class of 21 on the pharmacy curriculum outcomes assessment document, they finished number one nationally out of 142 schools on that particular assessment. And then the class of 2020, they finished in the top 25 nationally with a 95% pass rate. Out of 139 schools, they were in the top 25. Next, please. As we look at other things happening in terms of academics, the Anti-Racism Task Force, the 78 recommendations that I have mentioned before, we now have those online. So if you want to go online and check the progress that we're making, that's there. I also want to commend political science on the presentations that they have made regarding race and anti-racism on our campus. You can see some of the presenters there. Chancellor Lane mentioned commencements. We have 10 commencements coming up, starting this Saturday with Cordy Stadium School of Pharmacy and running through Sunday the 9th, engineering. So if you want to be a part of that, let us know. Next slide. As we look at goal 3 in the co-curricular experience, I wanted to commend the Charter High School. We had speakers from UCLA, Dr. Tyrone Howard and Jaleel Howard, talking about radical care and supporting young Black males, and that occurred at the Charter High School. Next slide, please. Students in the Department of Mass Communications are helping Madison County Health and trying to develop PSAs so that more young people will want to take the vaccination. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I wanted to commend our SIUE women's soccer team. They won the OVC conference last week, and they are part of April Madness for soccer. They went to North Carolina. Last night, they took on the University of Virginia. Unfortunately, we came up a little short, 3-1 on that, but it was an amazing year for women's soccer. Also wanted to let you know that we have announced a hire in women's basketball, Samantha Quigley-Smith from Lewis University, and we'll be bringing more information about that to the meeting in July, the Board of Trustees meeting. Next slide. Goal 4 has to do with recruiting, supporting, and retaining quality faculty and staff. Thank you. I mentioned Dr. Jessica Harris. Hopefully you'll approve her in a moment. Dr. Brown, same thing. The third bullet point, we are using equity advisors now on our searches so that individuals who have been trained regarding bias can be a part of the committee and help with that as committees unfold. And as you can see, we're also including information about equity, inclusion, and diversity as part of tenure track portfolios. Next slide. Goal number 5, which has to do with community. I wanted to point out Lori Giddens and the NSF grant that she received. I also want to thank our School of Nursing. They continue to reach out and build partnerships with community colleges to grow enrollment and produce more bachelor's trained nurses. And perhaps most importantly, our nurses have been involved in terms of helping with vaccinations. We had a clinic, a vaccination clinic on our campus on April 21st, had over 500 faculty, staff, and students that were vaccinated, and we continue to test and have less than 1% positivity rates. We've been working with GX, and now we're working with University of Illinois Shield. Next slide. Just 1 or 2 more things about community pharmacy. We have created a panel that is working with our communities to dispel myths. People who think that the vaccine can give them COVID, people who think that the vaccine changes their DNA in some way. So pharmacy has been helpful in reaching out to the community. I also want to talk about the community garden just a bit. The master's program in nutrition and dietetics is using both students from the program and community volunteers to raise lettuce, spinach, strawberries, carrots, etc., for the community. And we're also doing that program in East St. Louis as well. Next slide. We get to goal 6, which has to do with sustainable practices. As you can see there, a number of donations that have come through. We did our virtual SIUE Community Day with Matt and Kristen Fund, who have a renovation and interior renovation company in Edwardsville. They were our co-chairs for that. Our grant total is going up 3.5 million recently in the last 3 months. And then I just wanted to share our portion of CARES dollars is approximately $30 million. So that's going to help a great deal in refunds, expenses, and lost revenue. We will close out now. And as the music comes up and fades, this is the music that I mentioned last time that Kim Archer, our faculty member, produced for President Biden's inauguration. So with that, I say thank you.
Let me just take a moment, if I may, and then I'm going to ask our chair to make some comments as well. President Mahoney, Chancellors Pembroke, Lane, and your team, I think it's appropriate that we speak on behalf of the entire board and thank you for just an outstanding year through a very difficult COVID time when everything was just so uncertain. The three of you have led this institution along with your team in just an incredible way. When you just look over the year and see the accomplishments that you three have talked about, including the evaluation of you, Dr. Mahoney, when we look at where we were, I think someone said the system was somewhat falling apart, and what the three of you have done have been.
You've got the seat landing and everybody and.
So, okay. Yeah, Dr. Hightower?
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what you have said about where we were, where we could have gone, and where we didn't go. Through the leadership of President Mahoney and Dr. Lane and Dr. Pembroke, and we have weathered the storm. And I think we're going to be heading for bigger and brighter days ahead. There's great reports from Dr. Lane and Dr. Pembroke and also Dr. Cruz. And I think this board could be very proud of the leadership that we have, the staff and faculty that we have that have hung in there. And next year, we will show that the SIU system is one of the leading systems in the entire country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, are there comments from any of the trustees? I think it's appropriate as we prepare to somewhat close out this year and move forward. Comments from any of the trustees before we move to the next order of business?
Well, I would just, this is me again, listening to Dr. Cruz and the efforts that the medical school is making with the reintegration of our inmates back into society. From the experiences I've had of over 30 years, the two critical issues facing inmates as they come back to integrate back in society are addiction issues and mental health issues. And whatever we can do to assist our state and local officials and our medical professionals in local areas to address those issues is going to reduce tremendously the recidivism that we have in this state. And so I really applaud the program that the medical school has got with the Illinois Department of Corrections. I think it's going to bear fruit to help these individuals when they come out, integrate back into our society.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, at our regular board meetings, 30 minutes will be reserved to receive comments or questions from members of the public and employees of the university. Speakers' comments or questions should not exceed 5 minutes. Persons wishing to speak shall contact the executive secretary of the board. The executive secretary of the board shall maintain a roster of those seeking to speak and shall call the speakers in order. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers today?
No, we do not.
We do not?
We do not.
Wow, that is also great. Okay, so we'll move on. We're going to move forward with the call of the ominous motion. Our next item is the call of the ominous motion. The trustees have had 10 days to study the items on the agenda. A certain number are routine or self-explanatory, so as to save time, we shall act upon them in one motion and vote. Madam Secretary, please read the items suggested for the ominous motion.
Well, we need to take 4 items separately for roll call votes, and those are F, G, W, and X, which leaves us board agenda items H through R, T through V, Y, and Z.
Okay, for the ominous motion, H through R, T through V, Y, and Z.
That's right.
May we have a motion?
So moved.
So second. John.
Would you please call the roll?
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Motion passes. Separate roll call, board item F, report of purchase orders and contracts January, February 2021. Do I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Can I be recused, please, Curtis?
Sure.
Second.
We ask for a roll call on item F.
Okay, trustee Curtis is recusing.
I'll abstain.
Abstain. Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Tedrick,
Recuse.
Motion passes. Board item G, report of purchase orders and contracts January and February 2021 SIUE. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Chair, would you please call?
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Recuse.
Okay, motion passes. Board item W, authorization for sale and issuing of certificates of participation, capital improvement project series 2021A to refund of the board's outstanding certificates of participation, capital improvement project series 2014A-1. May we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Motion passes. Board item X, authorization for the sale of bonds, housing, and auxiliary facility system refunding revenue bond series 2021A to refund a portion of the board's outstanding housing auxiliary facilities system revenue bond series 2008A, 2009A, and 2012A, and adoption of amended and restated bond resolution. May we have a motion?
So
Mr. Chair, I
moved.
move to approve item X.
We have a motion. Second.
Second.
A second. Please call a roll.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Motion passes. Was that it? We have.
that's it. That
Okay,
takes care of
that's
it.
it. Okay, good deal. Okay, fine. Thank you. Let me again, on behalf of the board, welcome trustee Tanya Genovese to our new team, and you're going to enjoy it. It's a great working group, and welcome aboard. Mr. Chair, would you like to also welcome?
I sure would, and also at this time, because I wasn't at the beginning of the meeting, and first of all, Dr. Hightower, I want to thank you for conducting this meeting in my absence this morning. But I need to, as chair of the board, I'm going to appoint trustee Genovese to serve as a member of the Academic Affairs Committee, and she will replace as a member, and she will replace me as a member of the Audit Committee. And Ms. Genovese will replace Dr. Hightower as liaison to the Board of Directors of the Alumni Association of Seminole University, Edwardsville. And Dr. Hightower will become the alternate. And Ms. Genovese will also serve as alternate liaison to the Board of Directors of the Seminole University at Edwardsville Foundation. Missy, does that cover all the appointments for trustee Genovese?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. And again, I want to welcome you, Tanya, to the board. You'll find that this is a very cohesive board. And I think we're gonna look forward to your knowledge and participation as we move the SIU system forward. And again, Dr. Hightower, I want to thank you for presiding over this meeting today in my absence.
Would you also do the honor, Mr. Chair, of thanking the student trustees who will?
Oh, yes, because this is Jacob and Stephen's last meeting. It's been an unusual year for both of you. I don't think we ever met in person.
Never met.
The entire time that you were on as student trustees, which is a first, and I hope and pray a last. I know that I have signed the certificates for both of you. Misty, you should have those. But I wish both of you well. Appreciated your input this last year. I know Dr. Penbrook and Dr. Lane appreciated your input, and as we move both the Carbondale and Edwardsville campuses forward. And I wish you the best of luck in the future endeavors. And I'm sure both of you will be extremely successful in whatever, wherever your life takes you. And again, on behalf of the board, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, thanks to our student trustees. That concludes the business for the Board of Trustees today. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the board is planned to be held July 15th, 2021 at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. If we are able to conduct the meeting in person instead of the posted location of the School of Medicine in Springfield. If COVID restrictions are in place, that meeting will be via Zoom. The news conference will be held immediately after the conclusion of the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Please call a roll.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Genovese,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma, Simmons,
Yes.
Tedrick. Roger Tedrick. Okay.
The motion is carried. The meeting is now adjourned.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. It looks like we have Jennifer from WSIU with us. And that you may be our only fine reporter with us today. So we will turn it over to you for any questions you might have.
Thanks, John. Just a couple of quick and somewhat general questions. When it comes to, and this is for President Mahoney and either of the two chancellors especially, when it comes to CARES Act funding, I wonder how much of that funding will make the university whole, or what kind of debt you'll be carrying into the next fiscal year because of COVID.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I would say it hasn't covered all of the losses that we've had, so it doesn't sufficiently cover all of them. What that number, final number would look like, I'm not quite sure yet. And I think the other thing when we look at debt we're carrying forward or the longer term financial impact of this year, some of it was, we've also been very conservative on our spending this year. So some of that will help with our final budget numbers as well. But again, probably won't have a good sense of that until we get past that June 30th mark of what the really total impact will be. So certainly I would say, I mean, the funding we've gotten from the federal government has been incredibly helpful. It just wasn't enough to cover all of the things that were lost.
Do you have any possibility or any idea that there might be further cuts when it comes to staff or anything else in the coming fiscal year that would have to, that would be impacted because of this?
Yeah, I don't know whether, it's hard to always say with that, whenever you're looking at staff, some of that's reorganization things you may be doing here regardless of the financial situation. So I can never say what we'll exactly do staffing wise going forward, but I can let the chancellors comment on that if they would like.
Yeah, we just to echo that, Jennifer, for us, we've just slowed down our spending in this fiscal year. We've had some positions where we would have immediately hired as soon as they became available. We decided to reevaluate if we needed that position and look at some of those duties. And so for us, we've just been pretty cautious because again, we don't know going forward until the session ends and some other things get decided. But for the CARES Act dollars, we've been able to help students a lot. Really made the difference between whether students actually remained in school or went home. And so we're very, very proud of that. So just being conservative on our spending and making sure that, we don't get ourselves into some trouble is really what we've been doing over the last fiscal year and plan to do that going forward too.
So I would say we're estimating our CARES revenue, the discretionary part for the university, to be around 29 million. We're already at a little over 30 million in terms of COVID expenses. And so we have the rest of 2021, calendar 21, to be thinking about. I think the challenges are if our enrollment numbers hold, and we hope that they're good numbers, as you heard, then I think there's a great chance for 21 to 22 to be an incredible success story for the system. And that will relate to all parts, tuition and revenue and housing and dining, et cetera. So we're just watching that carefully. The thing that we've had to do and to monitor is student support and student work and student workers. When there were fewer people on campus, we just had fewer students involved, and that relates to their financial situation. So we're hoping that things will be positive and that we'll be able to rehire